Daily fantasy handle that hopefully, maybe, possibly, potentially be somewhere in the winning zone, top of the the scoreboard this evening, tonight,
right around the min cash line.
Hey, min cash life is it's not a fun life. I mean, you'll take it. It's better than flat out losing, right? I mean, but yeah, it's I've had this conversation with Blender before, right? Talking about that, and just I don't think he strives for. Well, obviously, he doesn't strive for mid cash, but you're just. You bank a couple times a year and you're good to go, and you're kind of set, and you'll get pummeled and you'll lose 20 days in a row sometimes. And that's just how it goes in baseball. But that one goofy thing that happens that you bet on that nobody else has, it's there's different routes to take. And I talk about this all the time. I don't play a lot of the large field contests, and I'm not shooting to beat 35,000 people, whatever it is. I like the single entry, 3 entry max stuff, and teach his own. TJ, are we taking something down today? How was baseball been going for you? That's TJ Zwarich, if y'all are not aware. What's up, TJ?
Yeah, doing well, Dean. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you on your intro like that.
No worries.
Get you going on your tournament styles and such. But yeah, it's been going pretty well. Just about took down a big one yesterday, but the Angels let me down. Mike Trout just decided to strike out at everything. Brandon Marsh gave me nothing. Jared Walsh gave me nothing. So finished, I think, 6th place in the 333 on FanDuel yesterday. So solid day, but it was close to so much better. That
was kind of sort of okay. So I went to the Heat game last night, and so I made one lineup just for funsies, and I didn't really follow stuff. But I thought going into the day, the Angels were kind of chalky. You like that chalk?
It was just a matter of you had to pay up, and I was fine with getting to Ohtani and Trout in that late night hammer. I had the Atlanta stack. That was kind of my off the board group, and it went really well. So I was fine with, didn't have chalk at pitcher or my primary stack. So I was fine with the chalky secondary stack, but didn't go my way.
Also joining us, Keith Eister, Eyes, as Roth likes to call him sometimes, on the week that the Iceman. Well, I guess Iceman's not going to be a Top Gun sequel, spoiler alert. Well, I imagine not. Well, who knows? Well, Dave Potts, Cheese, has been writing about Top Gun all week in his $1 Million Musings. He'll be on later. I'm sure he's super geeked and excited about the official release of the old Top Gun. Keith, I'm checking scores and odds now. Sometimes you have an article up, sometimes you don't. Did you happen to write one today for the people?
I did not write one. Thursdays is my off day, so
all
the 4 other weekdays I'm on it. So catch me tomorrow. It's been super hot. 39 and 21 in the month of May, up almost 15 units. So been going really well over there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I've seen a couple times where you had some 4-0s and maybe 4-1 and 3-1, that kind of thing. And obviously, Scores and Odds, it's a premium product, but there is some free articles. In your article, for whatever reason, somebody decided to give this one away for free, maybe to entice people to jump over to the site. But so you're saying it's 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Is that correct?
Yep, you got it.
Sweet. All right. Yeah. So check that out. Otherwise, and if you want to see the premium product for Scores and Odds, and that's everybody basically giving their picks, Grant, and there's every single sport you can think of as well. Noto's doing basketball stuff and golf stuff, and Cards is there. Andy Means for basketball. I'll make my occasional appearances as well. So yeah, feel free to check that out. You do. I think they're still running the 3-day free trial. If you go to Rotogrinders.com, you click the banner up top, you get yourself a 3-day free trial of Scores and Odds. You want to check it out and have at it. There you go. Good times there. The slate tonight. Oh, by the way, we should mention two different slates, right? Fanduel, they start at 6:40. DK starts at 7:05. We're going to be covering both. We'll talk about both. TJ primarily is going to be playing on Fanduel tonight, I believe, and we'll have Keith talking about DraftKings stuff, and we'll have the conversation. The difference, the only difference in as far as a slate is that FanDuel wanted us to talk about Tampa and the Yankees. The Yankees versus Tampa Bay starts at 6:40. They included that in their slate, which is also a reason why the Crunch Time crew is going to be coming on a little bit early today. You're going to need Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth because there is some potential weather lurking out there. This seems to be around the time where he tends to update his article. So I'm trying to see if he has updated it or not. Because we have, let's see, Detroit currently is yellow, orange. And I know I'm interested in Skubal. Orange, yellow, which is not as appealing. Two good pitchers, at least two legit pitching options, not the best matchups necessarily, but that's kind of the story of the slate as well as we kind of dig into it. There's not a lot of great matchups all around for the good pitchers, but Nola and Wright currently orange, yellow. And again, this will be updated probably in the article. And if not, Roth will be on in about an hour or so and give you guys a verbal update. And the more information you have, the better the update's going to be. So the closer we get to lock, it'll be more precise. So hopefully Roth will give us some clarity. But TJ, we should just talk about this stuff as if it's going to go, right? I imagine I don't want to play the whole if then game. Let's just assume that they're all good, right?
That's the route I'm going about it right now. That's how I'm making lineups, and that's my plan for unless Roth tells me different.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at as well. As far as this lineup as a whole, give me the screenshot because it's a lot of good pitchers. I don't think any of them have like a particularly great matchup, right? And as far as hitting, it's like the Dodgers, and then there's a big gap. Is that basically the slate?
Yeah, to me, it's actually the Dodgers and one other team, and then a pretty big gap. I have two teams in my top tier of stacks, and is that a lineup? Oh no, that's just me retweeting you. That was my notification. And it's I got the Dodgers as well as the Red Sox as kind of my top tier of stacks that I'm looking to get a lot of today. And then after that, I have a second tier that I'm looking to spread out a little bit, and then just sprinkles of everyone after that. But on FanDuel, primarily where I'm playing, as long as we're getting Nola, he's my second most popular pitcher. I got someone I like a little bit better, but I'm spreading myself out between about 8 different pitchers today. So spread out. It's a fun slate. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, I think 8 pitchers, yeah, for sure. Especially if you're on FanDuel where you can include Nestor Cortez as well. I presume he's in your top 8. Is he on your Family Feud board?
Yep, he would be my 4th highest owned pitcher right now.
There you go. Keith, what's your general assessment? Because again, it's like there's no perfect spot for pitchers. We're going to assume the weather is good to go until Roth tells us otherwise, and then we'll make some kind of decision at 7:05, and that's up to your own tolerance based upon the probabilities of rainouts and things of that sort, or rain delays. Keith, what do you have as far as this slate as a whole?
Yeah, I like the top of the pitching range. I agree. There's not really anyone that's separating themselves, and the ownerships are looking wildly different. So my plan right now is just to play the ownership game with these pitchers. I love Nola. I think he's probably the safest option. I like the matchup against the Braves. They haven't been as good as they were last year on offense. They've struck out a ton this year. But he's projecting as the highest owned, or right next to Ohtani on DK, because Ohtani is a little bit underpriced on DK. But Nola is projecting as one of the higher owned, and you've got guys right there with him like Skubal, Kyle Wright, and Eric Lauer, who are projecting for far less ownership. So they're a little bit more expensive, but I think they have the same type of upside that Nola and Ohtani and Montas do. I'm probably just going to play the ownership game in tournaments and go to the lower owned guys. On the offensive side, I agree. The Dodgers are the top range. Boston, Minnesota are right there with them for me. And then on DK, there's some cheaper stacks that we can take a look at too. Oakland and Detroit. So kind of some value bats from those teams that I'm looking, like Martin Perez. Come on, this guy cannot continue to put up this.
He's a magician, man.
He really is. He really is. And I know Oakland isn't good, but I don't think.
Watch how you talk about the best pitcher in baseball.
Oh boy, yeah, he's an enigma, and any sort of adjective you want to use. It's just phenomenal how that guy just kind of gets the job done. And I know people like to stack against him every single time, and it just does not seem to work. And Doesn't give up a ton of homers. The Ks aren't great, obviously. And I was looking at like, oh, maybe we can roster and get ourselves a cheap Martin Perez. Nope. The sites are like, he's 9K. Okay. I know it's Oakland and he should be okay. He should kind of sort of survive. Keith, there was something you mentioned was kind of interesting. You're talking about like getting away from Nola, which by the way, no Acuna is a benefit to Nola, obviously. That makes him a little bit more appealing. That weakens the Braves lineup. But it's just funny how you're saying it's interesting how like these pitchers develop. You're saying, well, you can get Wright, you can get Skubal, you can get Lauer. And like those are three guys we used to pick on, right?
Yeah, they definitely are, but they were all pretty talented prospects. And sometimes it just takes a while for guys to adjust. We've definitely seen an adjustment with Skubal. He's been great all year. Not the best matchup against Cleveland, but I'm willing to take some shots that the K rate is legit this year. Same thing with Lauer, like just better stuff this year, and seems to have taken a step forward with his command. So yeah, you're correct. They don't have the same name value, but they're young guys who have kind of just come into their own and developed a little bit better strikeout stuff. They're getting more swings and misses. So the K rates are up this year, and I've got their upside right there with some of the more known guys like Nola and Montas.
I was going to write up like some pitching props today, but I was kind of hesitant as far as the weather out there. And did you make any bets today by chance? And so you go, because I was thinking about Skubal. I'm like, well, what if this game gets delayed in the middle? I don't want to get caught that way. Last game he got knocked out from a line drive, whatever it was back, and he was cruising, and I was like, oh, well, why did he get taken out of the game? Comebacker, I think Montas, same deal, by the way. Both I presume are fine. If they're going to pitch them, I presume they're good to go. But go ahead.
Yeah, there are quite a few that I do like, and I have my eye on. The only one I've made so far is Ohtani over 6.5 strikeouts, and that's because the other guys I like are in weather games. Ohtani's facing a very right-handed heavy Toronto lineup. He has been striking out righties over 40% this year, so do like this spot a lot for Ohtani. I like Nola, and I mentioned his strikeout matchup against Atlanta. Atlanta actually has the highest strikeout in the majors this year. So I'm going to hit Nola over 6.5 is where that line was last I looked. As soon as Roth says it's okay to play pitching in that game, or even if he says you should be able to get 5 or 6 innings out of that game, I do like Nola over 6.5 strikeouts. And Kyle Wright on the other side, same situation, a guy who's seen a massive uptick in strikeouts this year, and Philly strikes out a fair amount. So tougher matchup for those two guys with the power in either offense, but both are decent strikeout matchups. So I like Nola strikeouts and Kyle Wright strikeouts that I'll be looking to hit as soon as if we get the weather okay.
TJ, you're going to take that, man? You're going to have your Blue Jays getting picked on? Well, Ohtani right now, the highest percentage owned pitcher on DK at 42%. Are your Blue Jays kind of sort of somewhat fraudulent? Obviously, a negative ballpark shift to LA last year. They benefited from playing in Buffalo. They benefited from playing in Dunedin. It's and I don't know, man. And maybe the absence of Semien is really hurting them, which although Semien's been terrible this year, but just kind of weird how that goes. What's the deal with your Blue Jays?
Why are you working so hard to get a rise out of me, Dean? Yes, I am perfectly okay with playing Ohtani today. Like Keith said, he is a phenomenal strikeout pitcher against right-handed bats, and the Blue Jays are a very right-handed team. I think on FanDuel, I actually am going to be a bit under the field on Ohtani, and I will have a few Toronto stacks in there. But it's a long season, Dean. The bats were hot at the beginning of the year. They've cooled off a bit now. They'll be fine.
All right. So yeah, I'm just trying to I want to get I can't poke the bear a little bit. That's your team. Kurt Dees is in chat every single day. He's a Boston Celtic fan, which by the way, I was surrounded by Celtic fans at the game last night. Like the crowd, I don't know if you can hear it on TV, but like not a good percent, but enough people were chanting, "Let's go Boston." I don't know if it was audible during the game, but a lot of Boston fans there, a lot of green in that crowd. So yeah, he's trying to get a rise out of me, and he's like, "Oh, he's taunting me about the Celtics taking down the Heat. Congratulations! One more game, you're probably going to win." We said at the beginning that it's probably going to be Boston. We're playing with the house's money, but yeah,
the only thing getting a rise out of me right now is we got 151 people watching and only 16 likes on YouTube. So if we get 50. If we get 50, Spidey's going to give us a nice home run call. We got a beautiful group of people to choose from today. But yeah, the pitching is a little interesting on FanDuel today because you got this clump of guys grouped together on DK, but on FanDuel it's a little more spread out. And when I'm wanting to get the Dodgers and the Red Sox, it's tough to get these bats. And so I find myself really gravitating to Nola and Montas the most, and then just sprinkling in the Lauers, the Wrights, the Otanis, the Screwballs after that, because they're priced up quite a bit more.
Yeah, so let's talk that Fanduel for a second, because I was Screwball is 10-1 on Fanduel, which is like he's more than Otani, he's more than Montas, he's more than Nola. He's a tick below Cortez, who's been phenomenal obviously this year. And then Eric Lauer is 10-6, and just that St. Louis lineup absolutely mauls left-handers. They don't really strike out either, and you're like almost getting an overpay on Lauer. I know Lauer has been great this year. On the season, his Ks are at 32.9%. He's not walking anybody either. The ERA is good. The Sierra's in check. It's all good stuff. But I don't know, man. I'm only making 4 or 5 lineups on Fanduel today. I don't think I'm getting the Lauer. I don't know what percentage you need to be above the field on him. I'm just having a hard time like thinking that he's going to be the top guy amongst. He should be fine, I think, but I'm not rostering him.
Yeah, like I'm currently trying to find a way to get a little more than I have in the 150 lineups that I'm playing.
What do you have?
I currently have 4%.
Yeah.
And so like I'd love to get that to be about 6, just so I'm over the field, maybe 7. But as long as there's no issues with Nola, I'm having trouble getting there. As it stands right now, I have Montas and Nola both over 25%, and not a single pitcher over 10% other than that.
So we do have the St. Louis lineup out, and Lauer is facing all righties but Donovan, if I'm doing this correct. Yeah. And the strikeouts are just not there. 17.1%. Yeah, Bader and Sosa strike out a little bit, but otherwise, not a ton of strikeouts. 27.5% if you stretch it back to last season. I probably should include this season only, just because Lauer has changed his approach, added velocity, and historically his splits, striking out. What's interesting is he strikes out 27.7% righties and 18% lefties. That is interesting. What's it this season? Is he a known like reverse splits pitcher? Because I don't think of him that way. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you have, Keith, on as far as Lauer?
I think he's pretty neutral splits. Like he isn't noticeably tougher on lefties, I don't think.
Oh, we might have lost Keith there. Something that I think is interesting that neither of you have mentioned in terms of DK. I'm not playing DK today, but I did the morning grind with Stevie. We have not mentioned, I think, 2 of the best SP2 options you can go to today on DraftKings.
Okay, so I mean, we're kind of working our way down, but let's play the game. Let's have some fun, and we'll see if Keith kind of works his way back in on the show. Hopefully, he'll pop back up. But yeah, I mean, I'm playing both sites. I researched both sites. I did content for both sites. I, generally speaking, TJ, I have the philosophy of that arms are more predictable than bats. I generally like to go double barrel if I can do that. So I'm less likely to play, I presume, German Marquez is one of the guys you're talking about.
That's one, yeah.
Yeah, who's been like bad, but he's facing Washington and he's cheap and you can get a couple extra bats. And I also understand you can't really go double barrel and, stack up the Dodgers. Like that's really hard to do. We live in the world of a salary cap. You're aware of this, TJ. So yeah, talk about German Marquez, more DK specific, where he should be more useful there. But it's temper your expectations, but it's a good matchup.
Yeah, I have a sprinkle of him on FanDuel, but he's definitely a better play on DK. 6 of his 8 starts this year have been in Coors. He hasn't looked as good, but he's played tough matchups in Coors Field. And now he has a much easier one in a much easier stadium. So I think he's definitely interesting, especially on DK, where he's in the 6Ks and he's not picking up very much ownership at all. The other guy I want to talk about who I think is actually more interesting than German Marquez is Connor Pilkington, 4K against Detroit. He had 83 pitches in his last start in the majors. He's got a little bit of strikeout upside. It's a terrible Detroit team, and he's 4 freaking K. So yeah, I think Connor Pilkington is a interesting option in tournaments on DK as well.
Yeah, the argument isn't like he's good, right? But he's throwing baseballs against the team. He's going to have an opportunity if things are going well, maybe get 5 innings in or something like that. And Detroit is a good team to pick on. But I mean, I was looking at it. I think he's like 39th amongst their prospects. He's not a prospect in Cleveland, just sort of throwing that out there. It's not like some young studs getting called up or whatever, but he's a live arm that's got a shot, and it really opens up the world to you. What do we have as far as how well owned is he going to be? Because like we're not the only ones that see he's 4K, obviously. kind of scrolling down. 10%. Okay.
Yeah.
Which sure, yeah. I mean, I don't have any confidence in it, but again, if you're looking to min cash, maybe don't play Pilkington. But if you're looking to, take down all the big bucks, right, TJ? If you're looking to make it first or last, is that
he's not my top choice. Like if I'm playing single entry, if I'm playing cash, he's not the first two I'm going to. But like, I'd rather probably go a Montas Ohtani. I think that's the route I'd likely go. But if you're trying to get different, heck yes, I love the idea of paying down for Connor Pilkington. 4K. Give me all the Dodgers. Give me some Mike Trout, maybe some CJ Cron as a low owned one off. I like it. I like it a lot.
We learned before the show that CJ, the C stands for Christopher Cron. Because you were a part of that conversation, right, TJ?
I was. What does the TJ stand for, Dean?
Oh, Thomas Joseph.
No.
Did I get one of those right?
0 for 2.
Terry John.
0 for 4.
Is there any sort of hint that I can that would help me or no?
We'll come back to it.
We're not gonna
in terms of pitching, I feel like we've covered most of it. I'm playing 8 total pitchers today on FanDuel. I got some Montas, Nola. Those are my top 2 by far, as long as the weather grades out okay. Then we got Ohtani, Cortez, Kyle Wright, Marquez, the slightest sprinkle of Pilkington and Waka, as well as Screwball and Eric Lauer. But yeah, that's my pitching pool. We got Keith back. Keith, what do you tell me about Connor Pilkington, man?
Oh man, that's not what I expected to walk back into. Let's see here.
Well, he's 4K on DK is the reason why we're acknowledging his presence, right? He's throwing baseballs. He's 4K on DK, and in theory, he can go, throw 85 pitches or something like that if things are going well. And he's facing Detroit, which is, a positive matchup, and that's the endorsement, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's the price tag. Like the K rate has been good this year, but he wasn't a huge strikeout guy in the minors. Good matchup against Detroit, obviously. Just because of the price tag, I think you can sprinkle him in there. I will note I am trying to pay up for pitching more than I'm trying to do that. I'd like to save with the bats and get up to these top tier pitchers, just because I think there's a lot more upside there.
That's kind of where I'm at as well. Hey, before we move on, let me hit you with another question you're not expecting. TJ Zwerich, your co-host, what does the TJ stand for?
I have no idea.
Shot in the dark.
Yeah, I'll give it Travis. Jonathan, I have no idea.
Off the mark. Well,
we're 0 for 2. What's up, chat? We kind of acknowledged their presence. Do hit that like button, do subscribe, turn on those notifications. And what do we need here, TJ? What 50 likes and Spider-Man is going to tell? I'm using air quotes. Spider-Man is going to tell you. I'm how rude of me. I know. Spider-Man.
The audacity, Dean.
I'm peek behind the curtain. So Spider-Man's gonna give you a pick. Somebody's gonna bang on a homer. Is that the story?
Yeah,
or is this
absolutely.
Just you? This is not Spider-Man.
50 likes. Spider-Man is getting us the homer. It'll be probably just one of my very top home run plays. We're not going to give somebody 30% owned, but still somebody who is one of the top plays. And if we hit 75, if people are feeling crazy today, we got Goku here as well, ready to deliver the spirit bomb.
You and Roth have talked about. I have no clue what Goku is. No idea.
No clue about Goku.
No, I think you guys discussed it, and then I was like, I don't. Yeah, it's after my time, which is a sad thing to say. It's not before my time. I think it's after my time. Goku was
my favorite guest in chat for TJ is Travis Jankowski.
There you go. Yeah, is that not it? It's not Travis Jankowski.
Jankowski was actually my parents' second choice for my middle name.
I don't believe that. It's a phenomenal choice, though.
Good.
I don't know what topped that. Jankowski's pretty good. Hey, what about Frankie Montas? How do we feel about Frankie, Keith?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about him. He's in the same range. The matchup against Texas is fine. They added a couple of bats, but they're still not an elite offense by any means. Montas not the biggest strikeout pitcher, but there's enough strikeouts in this Texas lineup. You've got Garver in there who struck out a ton. Calhoun should be in there, and he's a good strikeout bat. So I like this. again, it's just kind of the ownership thing for me. I have him pretty, like, all of the top tier pitching is pretty similar to me today. So because he's one of the higher owned, I'll probably end up underweight on him. But it's hard to say anything bad about him. The matchup is good. He's a solid pitcher, has a very strong leash. He's slightly cheaper than some of the guys I'll be playing, but that's the ownership is going to follow because of that. So I'll find a way to pay up a little bit more and play some lower owned guys.
Man, I pulled up the Derek Carty's the bat, and like just speaking to your thought, like a lot of them are kind of similar. It's pretty condensed with Nola and Ohtani and Montas and Skubal, but like Perez is right there, which I think Martin Perez should be like okay. He's 8-3 on DK, which isn't crazy. I think what is he at 9-3 or something like that in Fanduel, which I have a hard time getting behind that. Obviously, the K rate's not spectacular, but Carty's not on here to defend himself. And look, to be fair, like he was hyping up Sonny Gray as the best pitcher of the other day. I think raw points, and I'm pretty sure he was on a slate where there's like smashed 7 or 8 really good pitchers. And good job. The bat's good, man. It's worth taking a peek. But are you seeing this, Keith? Patrick Corbin is like the 7th ranked guy in raw points. I know the Rockies stink, but man, that's stink versus stink. So like, what's going to happen in that game?
Yeah, there's no chance I'm rostering Patrick Corbin today. If you want to talk to me about the guy on the other side, he's really cheap too, and I can get behind that. But
Marquez Marquez and Pilkington over Corbin.
Yes, agree with that for sure.
Oh man, that's and of course his stuff's getting updated all the way up through lock, and maybe that'll change. Is there like a great K? It's not even like a great K matchup for Corbin actually, because Colorado's running out a bunch of like contact guys. So yeah, interesting.
Dean, what year were you born?
Oh man, I'm old. It's not. I've got gray hair and everything. It's TJ. I'll be embarrassed to say how old I am. I'm probably like 15 years older than you. It's up there.
And Dragon Ball Z came out a significant amount of time before I was born, so that's why I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm aware. I've heard of it, but I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you what it is. Like Pikachu, I'm aware of Pikachu and like his famous line, Pikachu. Is that all he says? I think that's all he says.
Yeah,
right?
That was good. That was really good. I just wanted to say it's not an age thing. You're just clearly not as cool as me and Steve and Roth.
I mean, sure, I'm fine with that. I mean, yeah, I was into like baseball cards and all. What Dragon Ball Z was like a sports card thing too, I think, right? I feel like it was, or no. There's Pikachu cards though.
Oh yeah, Pokemon cards were big.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm marrying those two things. I think that it's kind of the same deal. Let's take a look at the ownership. By the way, we were talking about it. We're here for the next like 40 minutes, so we have plenty of time to knock everything out. And of course, we're going to hand it off to the Crunch Time crew. Y'all got Dave Potts, Kristi, and Roth, who's going to give us an update weather-wise, which we desperately need because we want to know what's going on, especially I think Atlanta is one that's really pressing. Keith, let's look at DK as far as the ownership stuff. Oh, by the way, just worth mentioning, you can use this, the lineup HQ tool. That's what I'm using right now at your own leisure all weekend long. Starting on Friday, you get lineup HQ is free. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're probably seeing it on the screen right now. Producer Steve's got the old lineup HQ on the screen, and like it's got everything in there, all the stuff like the ownership and the projections and the expert rankings are everything's just kind of in there. Our lineup HQ power rankings, all that good stuff is right there for you, and you can use it on Friday, on Saturday, on Sunday at your own leisure. But you're just going to have to trust us as far as the ownership right now. Well, you know what? Scroll in. You could probably see because Steve's got it on the screen. We got Ohtani as the number one guy here, Keith, at 42%. And Toronto's like a tough offense, right? But still probably too cheap for Ohtani at 8.7K. Nola, 9-2 against Atlanta. Not a great ballpark, but the lineup is certainly weakened with the absence of Acuna. A lot of Ks there. Montas versus Texas. And then we got Martin Perez at 15%. And then Skubal feels a little bit like an overspend at 9.7, but I think I'm okay with that. But again, we're not looking at perfect matchups. Cleveland's not this great imposing team, but they will hit the ball. They're contact heavy. I'll stop it there, but like you're talking about adjusting to ownership, right? So what do you do with that information that Ohtani and Nola and then Montas do pretty well above the field as far as they're like kind of their own tier ownership wise?
Yeah, those are definitely the three highest owned. And like, I think all three of them are very good pitchers. I mentioned loving Ohtani's strikeout matchup because he's facing a right-handed heavy Blue Jays team. I like Nola's strikeout matchup because the Braves have struck out more than anybody else in baseball this year. And they're cheaper than some of the other pitchers as well that I'm looking at. So the ownership makes sense to me. I agree those will be the 3 highest owned. It's a game theory thing for tournaments where I don't see there being a 4-to-1 gap on the chances of Nola and Ohtani outscoring Skubal and Wright. So I'm just going to play those ownership numbers and hope that they like. It's not that I'm not playing Ohtani and Montas and Nola. I'll just be slightly under the field because I want to make sure I'm over the field on it's Skubal, Wright, Lauer in particular that I think have the upside to match them and outscore them on this slate despite their higher price tags. So that I'm just playing the ownership game on it. I think all 6 of them are really solid, but because of the ownership, I'll be slightly under the field on those 3 highest owned guys.
So Roth updated his weather. Let me go ahead and drop it in the chat. The update. I think okay. So here we go. We have just yellows across the board, which I think seems like a positive, right? Whatever was orange before is no longer orange now. Detroit is currently yellow, and there's a blurb about it too. I'm not going to read it for you guys necessarily, but feel free to read it at your own leisure. It's in the chat, in the YouTube chat. Atlanta is yellow. St. Louis is yellow. I saw somebody asking about St. Louis, and then the White Sox in Boston is yellow as well. A later inning delay is certainly possible, but we're not really worrying about the pitchers, obviously, and maybe we'll have a 7-7 game after 6 because I think that's one of the more appealing places when it comes to the sticks tonight. Keith, your biggest stand as of right now, ownership wise on DK, did you have like a big stand you're taking, or like Lauer's 7.1% as far as ownership? Is it like maybe for or against? Do you have your biggest stand in I presume your 20 lineups? You generally run out to the 20 lineups?
Yep, correct. So Wright and Skubal are my 2 biggest stands. Wright has just taken a big step forward this year. He's coming in as the lowest owned out of that trio. I'm going to be roughly 3 times the field on Kyle Wright, and I'm going to try to double the field on Trig Skubal. So those are easily my 2 biggest stands.
I see people asking about Lynch and Hyunjin Ryu. TJ, are we getting the Lynch or Ryu? I don't think so, right?
Nope. On either site.
Well, it's the same question, TJ, as far as the ownership. Let's kind of take a peek and let's see if things kind of change. Obviously, on FanDuel, you only roster 1 pitcher. Obviously, on FanDuel, you do have the possibility to roster yourself some Nestor Cortez, who's been absolutely phenomenal. By the way, we're at 49 likes, TJ, so warm up Spider-Man. He's going to be queued up in a second. But sort of the same thought process, the same question. Or, hey, you said there's 8 pitchers that's in your pool. Let's play the game. It's Nola. Tell me when I don't get one. Nola, Montas, Ohtani, Skubal Cortez, Lauer, Marquez. Who's the 8th guy? Is the 8th guy Wright?
Wright's in there, yeah.
Did I get all 8? That's all 8, right?
Hold on.
Did I go too fast?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, I upgraded it to 10 and I forgot about that. So yes, Wright was the 8th one, and I currently have 2% each of Waka and Pilkington.
Woof, defend Waka. How cheap is he? He's like $3. How much is Waka in FanDuel?
He's too expensive. This was Stevie's case, and so I'm putting in 2% of Stevie. And it was just based on the White Sox are not super chalky, but I think they're personally going over-owned. This is a lineup without Jimenez, without Robert, without Moncada. They aren't that good against right-handed pitchers, and he's 8,400. He's cheaper than everybody else, and so you never know. What if he goes 7 innings and strikes out 5 or 6?
The best argument is
2 lineups of 150.
Yeah. The Chicago lineup is kind of rough. Is the best argument for him? I feel like, am I wrong to say Waka's not going deep at all this year in games? Like, are they not like really let him go like beyond like 5? I don't have his game log up in front of me now. I'm just sort of thinking in my head. Maybe I'm wrong, or is he just bad enough where it's not like not letting him, which is he can't. He's like to be 6 and 5 2/3. Okay.
And like, to be clear, this is not me endorsing Michael Waka as the top tournament play on the slate. This is me saying I'm running 150 lineups and I have him on 3 of them.
Yeah. And you're not paying the absolutely ludicrous price of a 9-7 for Martin Perez?
No, I definitely don't mind him as a tournament option on DK, but no, that's not something I'm touching on FanDuel. And the Oakland lineup just came out too, and we got Laureano leading off. So I saw a lot of people in chat talking about liking the Oakland stack on DK. And I don't like it on FanDuel, but I definitely got to say I don't think that's a terrible option on DK. Where you now got they're super cheap. You got Laureano leading off, Pinder batting third. I think it's interesting.
He's at least in there now, but like I feel like he gets scratched. Like, doesn't he get scratched all the time? Am I wrong to say that we've seen Laureano get scratched like multiple times this season? Maybe
I think
just
he has
yesterday.
twice recently, and it was early enough though that you could bounce out of it. It's not like it was a you're screwed and the lineup's already locked.
Yeah, no, yeah. He's also been like horrific. Like this is a guy that was like really good last year, and then he got hit with, I think, performance enhancers.
Yep.
Got suspended the back end of last season and the part of this season, and he's been terrible this year. I don't know. Who knows what's going on there? But I mean, the entire Oakland lineup, obviously. Have you seen the lineup, Keith? It's spoiler alert. It's bad.
Yeah, it was expected to be bad, but we're kind of banking on them facing a bad pitcher too, right? And then they're all really cheap because they're bad. So they help make some things work today for me.
Laureano, Lowry, Pinder, Murphy, Noisy, Betancourt, Andrus, Smith, and Pache. All right. Yeah. I mean, that's a good segue. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the hitters. Let's knock out we kind of touched on it a little bit, TJ, as far as the Dodgers being at kind of sort of their own tier, but I think you added Boston in there, which I don't necessarily disagree with that because they're on the road. That was kind of.
I added Boston in there, and we're over 50 likes, so it's I think the perfect time for me to say Kike Hernandez. Spidey told me he's been excited about it all day. He was talking about it yesterday when I was recording the morning grind with Stevie. Kike Hernandez is hitting a bomb today. I wrote up about it.
Did you say Kike or Enrique? Which one? What usage does he go with?
Kike. They're good friends. He knows how to say his name properly, and Spider-Man has been a fan of Kike Hernandez ever since that Drake song came out, and then Kike Hernandez tweeted about it, and he was like, "No, Drake, it's not pronounced Kiki, it's Kike." And Spider-Man thought that was pretty funny, and so ever since that day, he's liked him, and he really likes his matchup today. Fly ball hitter against a ground ball pitcher. Somebody who doesn't strike anybody out, and Kike Hernandez has always smashed lefties. So yeah, Spidey told me he's excited about it. Kike Hernandez is hitting a homer today.
Yeah, on the road, well positioned for those 5 at bats when you're leading off on the road. That's the perfect spot to be in. Do you remember? I don't know if you were playing a DFS that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, whatever it was. The only Twitter interaction I'm aware of with Enrique Hernandez, TJ, is for some reason FanDuel goofed and they made Enrique Hernandez like $200, like literally $200 in the player pool.
I remember that.
Okay, so and like people were telling him like everybody's kept because everybody played him. Like it's like he was $200 and he has made everything work. Obviously game theory, yada yada. But like he didn't really know exactly what was going on, but I remember he chimed in on it because so many people were adding him about it. But yeah, I don't think he did anything that game if I remember correctly. I don't recall now, but I think it was just nothing eventful. But he was $200. I'll roster you for $200.
They gave him the what's that guy's name? The Chris Davis treatment.
Was Chris Davis $200 for Baltimore? Or
when Chris Davis was on his huge no-hit streak, they made Chris Davis, I think it was $500 on FanDuel, like purposely for like 2 weeks in a row. And then of course, like the second day he did it, he hit a home run.
Do you remember any of this, Keith?
We lost Keith again. No,
Unbelievable.
As soon as we start getting off track and start talking about stupid things, we lose Keith. We got to stop doing that. But at least he's got a nice. That's what I was gonna say. At least he's got a nice, nice smile on his face there. But yeah, let's talk some stacks and then let's start going. I feel like it's about time for us to start ripping position by position because we've been goofing and the crunch time crew is starting early. So yeah,
we're fine. We're not goofing at all, man. I think we're good. We should run a catching contest.
We're losing Keith every time we goof.
It's a small sample size. It's not correlation. All right, let's go around. And by the way, it's interesting as far as the rankings, and I look at the consensus rankings and as far as the stacks, and it's very the field. Myself, Keith, who's no longer with on the show, Grant, Dave Potts, we ranked the same 5 teams, and I wasn't even thrilled about ranking the 15 for the record. But Dodgers, Chicago, Minnesota, and Boston in some order, and then Colorado 5th because Patrick Corbin. That's kind of where we're at as far as do you have a favorite stack beyond that? Like, of course you can go beyond those 5. Do you have a preference, kind of an off the board stack?
My favorite, I mean, they're not super off the board, but they're definitely not, they're not getting played at a heavy amount either. My favorite, like semi-contrarian one would be Colorado. I like Minnesota, but the field's playing them as well. I liked Chicago until I saw how much of the field has been playing is going to be playing them, and that kind of made me want to get off them as much. So I'm interested in Colorado as like one of my top under-owned stacks, as well as Philly. When Kyle Wright is on, he's amazing. When he's off, he's awful. So those are the two I'm interested in tournaments. But then there's some other teams I'm interested in sprinkling in, like the Yankees, just because of their upside. Atlanta, because they're going up against Nola, who's going to pick up a lot of ownership. KC is playing against a pitcher who doesn't strike anybody out. So those are some teams I'm sprinkling in. Like, I'm running 150, so I'm trying to get like 5 to 10% of my lineups with stacks from those guys. But those are more tournament sprinkles for me.
No Polanco today for that Minnesota stack. If you're interested in Polanco, he's not playing baseball, at least not starting the baseball game. Hey, the Yankees signed Matt Carpenter, which, you know, that field, I guess if there's ever going to be a field that's going to salvage his career, he can be kind of sort of somewhat interesting. Yankees are getting Gallo is playing left on left. Of course, they're without Stanton for a while, and that lineup's pretty beat up. But, you know, there's Judge and there's Rizzo, and there's still plenty of power against Yarborough. All right, let's go around the horn, give our favorite plays position by position. Let's start at the catcher position. Of course, on FanDuel, you're not required to roster yourself a catcher.
Heath, who do you like a catcher on DK?
Oh.
TJ always bombing me after my internet is giving me problems today here. So yeah, let me flip over here to some catchers for DK, because that's always the best.
You don't have a bunch of names on the ready of all your favorite catchers?
I'm sorry, man. I couldn't help myself there. It was just perfect opportunity for the second time in a row to get one in there.
So many good catching options on DK, especially the prices are really good too. I want to pay 4.7 for Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. Minnesota's one of my favorite stacks. Gary's been a little bit better this year. Grandal at 4K is fine. Will Smith is probably the most talented of the bunch, but you got to pay for him. Mitch Garver is still a bit underpriced. Obviously, tougher matchup against Montas, but he's still only 3,500, batting third. As far as like a punt option, probably go Vasquez, who's up to the 7th spot for Boston. I know TJ said he really liked Boston. I like Boston a good amount as well, so don't mind that 3,100 price for Vasquez.
Melendez left on left is 3.6. Yeah, there's just not much here. It's TJ, you're talking about Colorado, and I just thought it was worth pointing out.
Sean Murphy, sorry to interrupt. Sean Murphy is a guy I love. He's going to be in those mini Oakland stacks that I've talked about as a way to save some money. Murphy at 3,400, batting 4th, like one of my favorite options. Just want to make sure I got that one out.
Yeah, I have no issues with that. I just wanted to point out, TJ, as far as the prices for Colorado and DK, Joe Connor, they're outside of course. Joe Connor is 5.3. Blackman's 5.1.
Connor Joe.
Yeah, why am I Joe Connor? 2 first names.
My middle name's not Joe either.
It's not. Yeah, I was gonna go with that. But Christopher Crone is 6.1. Ryan McMahon is 5.5. Like, get out of town. But nobody's gonna play him for that reasons, obviously. Do you like any catchers on FanDuel tonight, TJ?
There are a couple I think are going to play. I think you can play Will Smith, but there's not a ton that I'm rushing to play today on FanDuel. Where you have the first base and catcher combined. Freddie Freeman, I think, is your top option. And if you're not playing a Dodger, I think you're playing CJ Cron. I really like him for tournaments. And Gary Sanchez, is another catcher I think you can play there as well. If you're looking to save salary, you're looking at punt, I think the option I'd like to go to would be Bobby Dahlbeck for Boston. He's hitting 8th, but he's a power hitter against lefties, so I think he's interesting. And another catcher I think you can use as a one-off would be Mike Zunino anytime he plays a left-handed pitcher. But Will Smith and Sanchez would really be the only catchers. And other than that, I'm looking at those first basemen I mentioned.
Yeah, and Cortez, a lot of fly balls this year, like 41%. I know he's been awesome for what it's worth, and he's been good home run suppression, home run the fly ball under 10%. But you're right, with Zunino at Stone Min, basically nothing. I don't think that's the worst idea in the world as a flat out punt if you're shooting for a homer. You mentioned Dahlback. He's 2-1 on Fanduel. You know, obviously Fanduel, it's catcher / first base. That's a really good price, far as I can tell. Freeman seems underpriced at 3.8. Muncy is 3 over there. Muncie's been rough this season. He walks a lot, but that's basically all he's doing. Abreu at 3K seems too cheap. I like the Christopher Crone spot over here at 3.9, a little bit better than the DK price at 6.1. Any other first baseman, TJ? I know, well, you kind of mentioned Dahlback, but who are your favorites amongst the like legit first baseman?
Yeah, it would be Freeman 1, probably Crone 2, Muncy 3.
And then on DraftKings, Keith, first baseman you like, considering salary and all that good stuff.
Miranda is min price over here, the rookie for Minnesota. He jumps out as a value play. Freeman is obviously the top option. He's going to come with some ownership. Abreu is a little bit underpriced, but I do like his matchup with Waka. Waka gives up plenty of hard hits and fly balls to right-handers. That Crone price is sky high, but it will keep his ownership low. He has a phenomenal matchup against Corbin, and he's smashed lefties throughout his career. So I'll pay it a little bit where I have the money.
Some Marquez and Pilkington lineups, baby.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know if I'll do that, but
TJ,
might have to do it to make it work.
No, Keith, I didn't get a chance to look at it, but I know you made a Stat Hero lineup for the people. They're not aware. Stat Hero, you're not playing against TJ. You're not playing against Keith. You're playing against the house. Head-to-head style against the house pick'em style. If you want to, check it out, you get yourself a pretty sweet Rotogrinders bonus, 50% deposit bonus, up to $250. What is that code? It's Grinders, GRINDERS. Again, 50% deposit bonus, up to $250 over at Stat Hero. Keith, I did not see your lineup, but I'm going to get is Crone in there, or is he too expensive?
Crone is actually in the lineup I want to pick on, and not because Crone is in there, but Stat Hero does take points for a strikeout. Crone strikes out a fair amount. So yeah, I mean, I like Crone, but the strikeouts, high variance, I think, and really the reason I want to pick on the lineup is because they have Austin Riley in there, who's against Nola. I think you can find some better value options than trying to play Riley against Nola.
So what's the lineup you're rolling out against them?
Buxton is in their lineup as well. I think he's one of the top plays on the slate, so I want to just go ahead and match that, eliminate some variance. Juan Soto is one of my favorite guys. He is near the top of the price range, but I think just a great matchup against Marquez, who struggles to lefties. Soto, one of the best hitters in baseball, so I made him a priority. Then I went shopping for some value. Owen Miller is the guy that I landed on as just the cheapest guy that would help me pay up in my third spot. He's batting cleanup for the Guardians, against the lefty with the platoon advantage.
Cut him off again. Cut his internet.
Yeah. Hey, I stopped myself. It was only a half a slip. And then Taylor Ward has missed some time with an injury, so I assume that's why his price is down, but he was far too cheap. He's been awesome this year. Ryu is not somebody I'm scared of, so he rounds out the lineup.
When you say Taylor Ward, you mean Joseph Ward, as we all know?
He is a Joseph Ward over here on Stat Hero. So we were having this conversation pre-show. He is Joseph Taylor Ward. And Stat Hero apparently just goes with their official name. So you've got all kinds of good stuff. Like, yeah. Well, yeah. You got Christopher Crone over here as well, as you slipped. And I think it was a callback to our pre-conversation. You called him Christopher at first base. And then Julio Martinez.
It was an homage to just like the four of us, the pre-show conversation.
It was great. I caught it. Thank you. And then Julio Martinez, that famous DH for the Red Sox as well.
Oh, JD is Julio Martinez. I did not know that. Yes. What's the D? It's silent? It's just,
I do not know that.
Well, what? All right, fair enough. I've never. That's so wild. That's what they're going with. That's confusing, isn't it, to some people? It's confusing to me.
Well, yeah. I mean, to a casual baseball fan, that's definitely got to be a little bit difficult to try to figure out. Like, nobody knows who Joseph Ward is or Julio Martinez. They know him as JD and Taylor.
People don't know who Taylor Ward is. Casual baseball fan.
Right.
I guess they probably should, but yeah. Did you have anything else as far as first base, Keith, or do you want to jump to second?
I think we covered first base pretty well. Dahlback, I think TJ mentioned him though. But yeah, he's really cheap on DK.
I had a question actually, not to cut you off, but you mentioned Miranda. Where do you think you're more likely to play him? He's third base eligible, 2K also. I guess it's more of a question of like, do you think first base is stronger or is third base stronger? Which one is just a bigger player pool to pick from? I think I'm more likely to play Miranda at third than first. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I really like Freeman. And Dalbec is another value option that I'm going to have quite a bit of. I mentioned CJ Cron. Yeah, I think first base is the slightly stronger position, so I'm more likely to play him at third.
What do you have as far as second, which I think it's tough, man. I was doing my rankings today for DK, and Keith, you did them as well. I got them pulled up, and the consensus number one play, and a salary considered on DK is it's the mouthwash, Jonathan Scope, because he's 2.9K and he's facing this dude we never really heard of. And then you got Muncy's 5'6". Like, come on, man, 5'6". Like, sure, I get it, but 5'6". Story's 5'7". Yeah, it's expensive. And Polanco was scratched. There's just not a lot here at second base.
Yeah, I think you're either going all the way up. I do love Story today. Another fly ball hitter against ground balls of Keuchel, who has also really low strikeouts. So Story is one of my favorite plays on the slate. I've got him tagged up in lineup HQ there. And he's been on an absolute tear here recently as well, hitting home runs like crazy over the past week and a half or so. Muncy has struggled this year. So I'm fine leaving him out of a Dodger stack. I think he's really talented and he's going to turn it around eventually, but it's been a bit of a struggle for him. So I prefer Story if spending up. And then I'm looking to save money in a lot of lineups. And I've mentioned Oakland. Detroit is the other team that has some cheap value bats that are in a good spot. I think Scope is one of those primary guys. It's not that I love Scope as a hitter necessarily, but that $2,900 price tag is really useful. And then Jed Lowry is the Oakland bat who is really cheap and at the top of the lineup. So he makes some stuff work for me as well.
TJ, second base. Also, TJ, we did is there a second potential Spidey bomb if we get a certain number of likes? Have we considered that? Is Spider-Man still working? Is he still around?
We've already announced it. The Goku Spirit Bomb's coming at 75 likes.
Well, where are we at now? Are you keeping an eye on this? Because
I got my eye on always. It's at 67. I'll update you when we get there.
All right, fair enough. Knock out the second baseman.
So at second base on FanDuel, you have a underpriced Javi Baez who you can play at second or short, and that's probably objectively the best play. He's probably projected point per dollar as the best one. If you're paying up, the answer is Trey Turner. But for me personally, I want to be playing a Dodger or a Red Sox here almost all the time. You have Trevor Story, Trey Turner, Kike Hernandez, Max Muncy, Chris Taylor, even Gavin Lux. Like, that's my favorite part about when the Dodgers are in a great spot is I almost think of them as two separate teams within one team that I can stack, because even if their projected ownership is very high, I can still stack this back half of the lineup and they don't pick up near the same level of ownership. So Chris Taylor and Gavin Lux sign me up, but my favorite here is Kike Hernandez.
Jump on over to third base. You can feel free to talk about FanDuel, DK, however you want to work it. Of course, Keith will cover DK as well, but your favorite third baseman tonight, TJ?
Yeah, so your cash game option here, I think, is probably Max Muncy. This is where I'm going to play him. Of the three positions that you can play him at, I like him here. Outside of that, though, I think my favorite tournament option is Rafael Devers. Jose Ramirez, even against Scuball, is a great option. Taylor Ward, as long as he's in the lineup. We currently are projecting Taylor Ward at 3% ownership. He's 4K on FanDuel. He has not been priced back down. But nobody's going to play him. So if he's back in the lineup, he's a good play. Same with Justin Turner if he's in, but we're currently not projecting him in. And so because of that, I don't think he's going to get a lot of ownership if he is. But if Edwin Rios is in the lineup, that's my favorite play at this position. And so if he happens to crack the spot, I love him. But if not, it'll probably be Turner. And the Bobby Witt Jr. is another nice play. But the last guy I'd want to look at would be Miguel Andujar is batting cleanup at minimum price against Yarborough.
So that Yankee lineup got shuffled up. If you all missed it, Hicks was scratched. Leadoff hitter for the Yankees tonight, Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge, Rizzo, Torres, Andujar, Gallo, Kiner Falefa, Trevino, and just signed and today Matt Carpenter is batting eighth now. He just jumped in the lineup. He's DHing. Wow. I do not believe he's in the FanDuel player pool because, like, how could they anticipate? If anything, it'd be on like St. Louis or something like that. But I don't think he's here. I'm kind of looking for him now, and like he would be on the wrong team anyway. Yeah, I don't think he's in the pool. And then Marwin Gonzalez is batting ninth for the Yankees. Keith, third base.
Yeah, I think Muncy is probably the cash option just because the Dodgers are in such a good spot. He's expensive, but don't mind paying up for him. Jose Ramirez, a tougher matchup for him, but he can handle any matchup. He's fine. Rafael Devers as a tournament play is going to be underowned. Nobody's scared of Keuchel. Devers handles lefties well. We discussed Miranda over here as a value option. And another guy I really like for cheap is Jeimer Candelario for Detroit, hitting fifth there. He's only 2,500 on DK.
Curtis in chat asking what he should get for dinner. Is this like a Boston chain I'm not aware of? You guys know Bonchan? Bonchan? Am I saying that correctly? BON space CHAN? Anybody aware of Bonchan? I'm not aware of it. I'm in South Florida. There's some in California. There's some in New York. I guess they're around. Yeah, they're all over the country. Just not a whole bunch of them. Not in Canada. Well, wait, maybe one in BC. Nah, maybe Vancouver. Never heard of it, TJ, I assume?
Nope.
This is important stuff.
I'm having McDonald's for supper.
Say it again?
I think I'm having McDonald's for supper.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
What's your go-to?
A couple double cheeseburgers, some fries, maybe share some nuggets.
Right. 6'10".
Exactly the same. Exactly the same McDonald's in Canada and the US.
Do they still have like 6, 9, and 20 as the nugget option? I disagree. Whoever made those three.
6, 10, and 20.
Okay, but still, why can't I get 12? I don't want 20, but I want a little more than 6.
That's what 10 is for.
I think 20 is a big leap. Is all.
What I will say, there's the chain that is way better in Canada than it is in the States is A&W. A&W is like top tier fast food in Canada, and it's just pretty average in the States. That's kind of Central America. It's like Ohio, right? Isn't that where A&W basically is? Pennsylvania, that area. It's not in here. It's not in the South, to my knowledge. But regionalized, I believe A&W, but never been there. All right, shortstops. TJ, what do you have for me? So this is a lot of the same guys we've already mentioned at different positions. Story, Turner, Xander Bogaerts is somebody that I like that we haven't, that only is shortstop eligible. Same with Carlos Correa. There's some very interesting one-off options that you don't have to stack here at this position. Guys like Bobby Witt, Wander Franco, Corey Seager, players that even if they're maybe in tough matchups, nobody's going to be playing them, and they're pretty interesting as one-off options. You also have Javi Baez all the way cheap here. Mentioned him at second, but that's really it for me. It's one of these guys who's got a lot of positional eligibility.
Yeah, according to the chat, A&W, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. That's kind of where it's centric at. What do you have, Keith, as far as shortstop?
I'm looking at Trey Turner here. Love the Dodgers. Obviously, he's one of the top options. Correa in a Minnesota stack, very good. Like Bogaerts for Boston. Tim Anderson is fine. I don't like that ownership number we're seeing on Anderson. I'll definitely be well under the field on that in tournaments. Christian Arroyo is 2,700. We love Boston today. He's hitting ninth, but he's only 2,700. Baez underpriced over here on DK as well. So that's pretty much the guys. I do like Corey Seager as a one-off as well.
How are you handling the Dodgers? Because Turner is great. If you only have like one big span of the Dodgers, it's hard to get, obviously Turner, Betts, and Freddie, right? It's hard to make that work. Like, it's just sort of like you're getting two of those guys. Are you finding a way to get all three? Are you making a decision, like you have a preference amongst those three? As far as your Dodgers stacks, how are you handling that?
Yeah.
Kind of a dilemma.
Yeah, it is. But the ownership is coming in on the top end of the guys. Freeman, I think, is my favorite option of anybody. So I'll probably be like roughly even with the field on Freeman. And then I'm going to play a lot more of the bottom of the order, like TJ mentioned, just because I want to spend up twice for pitching. And it's hard to fit in the Turners and the Betts with Freeman and then two top tier pitchers. So I'll be looking down the order to like Bellinger and Lux and guys like that. So playing a little bit more of the bottom of the order probably puts me underweight on guys like Muncy and Turner.
How confident are we that Bellinger's coming back tonight? He's been sick, right? Was he on the COVID list? I know he's not played in the several games. There's no lineup just yet for LA. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they're kind of figuring it out, but he has not played since did he play yesterday? Okay, my bad. I missed it. He did play 2 at-bats yesterday. So I guess we assume he's fine and good to go, and we assume he's going to be in the lineup versus the righty. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, that's how I'm operating. If not, it's going to be somebody like Rios in there who would be a great value option as well. So just whatever the lineup is, there's going to be ways to pivot off of that and move the lineups around a little bit with all the multi-positional eligibility and things.
Keith, jump
Rios
to
has
the
been hitting the
outfield.
ball really well. I'd be interested to see if they keep him in the lineup and start him at third over Turner.
Who's that, Rios?
Yeah, Rios over Justin
Yeah.
Turner today, even with Bellinger back.
I think, don't they mostly start him? They basically is only centering against righties, I think. Is that correct? It's a righty
Yes.
they're facing, but I think he'll only face righties, essentially.
Correct.
Unless they're doing something, somebody's getting a day and that kind of deal. But yeah, he might crack the lineup, and you're right, he's pretty cheap as well. Speaking of cheap, we're getting a discount on Juan Soto on DK. He's like 1K cheaper than all the other guys. Contemporaries. When you think of Buxton, you think of Trout, think of Betts, those kind of guys. He's 4.7 on DK, and I think that discount's just too much. Buxton's a little bit cheaper off of like Trout and Betts, those guys as well. But the step down to Soto looks really, really good if you're playing cash games. I think he's a good place to start. And Aaron Marquez has not been spectacular, historically vulnerable to lefty power as well. Enter Juan Soto. The problem, of course, the teammates around him aren't that great, and a lot of his home runs are solo jobs. But yeah, Keith, your thoughts as far as Soto, the outfield in general?
Yeah, Soto's great. Underpriced on DK for sure. Love the Marquez. I think is a fine pitcher, but he's not somebody I'm scared of. And Soto is one of the best hitters in baseball. So just a little bit underpriced. Love Buxton. I think he's my favorite play. If I just had to pick one hitter out on this entire slate, Buxton would be my guy. JD Martinez in a Boston stack. Absolutely love that. Has smashed lefties throughout his career. Grichuk, Colorado is not a team we've talked about outside of Crone much, but I've got some interest in a little Colorado stack because Corbin has just been awful for several years now. So I'll be playing a little Colorado. Daza fits that conversation as well in the 2-hole at just 3,500. Kike Hernandez, Spidey knows all about him. 3,500, way too cheap for this matchup against Keuchel. AJ Pollock in the middle of the White Sox lineup is underpriced. Kyle Garlick hitting third for the Twins is underpriced. Love Trout, obviously. Betts we talked about with the Dodgers. Tons of great options here in the outfield.
How do we have no historical games on the current weather in Atlanta? This ballpark's been around for like 5 years, right? 70 degrees, 90% humidity. I don't know. It's just weird that like there's no matching. I'm looking at the Ross weather at Stool and like nothing really popping for what it's worth. If anything, it's like negative stuff for hitting. The one that pops is Cincinnati and the Cubs, and that was earlier today. And I think that was like a monster score because both my pitchers were in my season-long game, and that did not work out for your boy. So 10-5 or something last I checked. Nobody cares about my season. Who cares? My season-long team. TJ, what do you have as far as outfielders?
Yeah, so you got that same discount on Soto on Fanduel as you do on DK. He's 3,700, and I think you plug in Buxton in cash, you plug in Soto in cash, and you plug in Bellinger in cash, and you move on. If Bellinger happens to not be in the lineup, obviously, if you haven't played Kike Hernandez at second, you can play him in the outfield. But on Fanduel, I think those are your top options by far. And then as soon as we start looking at tournaments, I love paying up all the way up for the Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, Mike Trouts. I think I prioritize Mookie Betts a little bit, but I wouldn't fault you for going Mike Trout there. I do like Bryce Harper and a Philly stack in tournaments, but even Bryce Harper as a one-off and JD Martinez as well is one of my absolute favorite plays. This is a position for me that I'm going to be looking to pay up for outside of the likes of Cody Bellinger, Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez, those guys. I would way rather be going up than trying to pay down for and hunt home runs for a guy who might get pinch hit for like Kyle Garlick or something like that.
The Reds won 20-5. Andrelton Simmons gave up 5 runs. Man, that's going to skew that's like the Reds runs for the season is going to skew there because they've been horrific, obviously, but I guess they'll take it. A couple of questions we pulled here from chat. Keith, any love for Arizona? I know you're living in Arizona. Any love for Arizona today? Yeah,
they're just not on the list today. I think White is a pretty good pitcher. Like we don't know much about him, right? He hasn't had a ton of opportunity in the big leagues, but I think he's a pretty talented pitcher, a good prospect, and a guy with a good track record in the majors. So I'm not looking to pick on him today.
How about yourself? Do you have any love? If you want to add anything, by all means, go for it. Otherwise, take Colorado. We just kind of touched on if you want to kind of put a bow on Colorado, TJ.
Yeah, so I am a little bit interested in Arizona today. I'm just waiting for lineup HQ to finalize here. There we go. As it stands, they're actually my 5th highest owned stack. So I do have a little bit of interest in Arizona because they are just super, super cheap on FanDuel.
Yeah.
And I'm happy you mentioned tie a bow on Colorado because they have solid prices on FanDuel. They're priced way up on DraftKings, but I mentioned some cheap pitchers already on DK that I like as an SP2 to allow you to get some of these Colorado guys. And it's perfect time because we have the likes, and the Goku Spirit Bomb today is CJ Crone. CJ Crone is going to be hitting a home run. Christopher Joseph Crone, CJ Crone, is going to be hitting a home run off of Patrick William Corbin today. And no one's going to be playing him on DK. He's going to be sub 15% on FanDuel and virtually unowned on DK. So I like that play a lot for tournaments.
Let's fire off a couple more homers. I'll throw it to you, Keith. Feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be. 3 guys that are going to bang out some homers. We got the Crunch Time crew coming around the corner shortly. You got the chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. We'll tell you what's going on weather-wise. Definitely need some updates on. Well, he did write up an update, and we'll see if things have changed. But there's some potential issues we may have, and he'll tell us if there's any clarity there. You get Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. Kristi as well qualifies for a lot of live finals, and she plays a lot on FanDuel, I believe. All right, so talk to me about some homers. Keith, who's going yard?
Up top, I mentioned my favorite play on the slate is Byron Buxton. He has smashed lefties. Absolutely love him today. He's going yard. Mid-range. Let's see here. I like Grichuk. Powerful guy, kind of a little bit underrated, and love that matchup against Corbin today. So give me Grichuk. And then the cheap guy, I'm going to go with Miranda for the Twins. Just a talented young guy, and love his matchup today as well.
Yeah, I like him too. And I know his batting average wasn't spectacular, but I saw him hit the ball hard the last double. He's a big time prospect, obviously, and he's 2K. Super useful on DK as well. We're not the only ones that are going to see that for what it's worth. Keith, I see some people in chat saying that Buxton's been cold. I don't think I care. And, it's funny. I watched a couple of his at bats, and he had a barrel like the dead center. And, it's one of those, you see that Twitter account's like 27 of 30 ballparks. This would have been out of. Not this one, unfortunately. But everywhere else, that would have been a dinger. I don't care if he's cold. Like, I think he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, if he's hitless for 10 days, that means in a 10-day span later on, he's going to hit 5 home runs. Like, doesn't matter to me.
60% of the time, it works every time. Is that you worked that out, TJ? Is that foolproof?
Yeah, it's foolproof, just like Patrick Corbin's middle name being William.
You lied to us? You made that up?
That was definitely on the spot.
Is there TJ? Is there a player or a stack or a pitcher? This is kind of sort of like one of the questions that we have in the expert survey that you're going to be under the field on that you're nervous about. Like, it's not that you don't like them, it just doesn't work out, doesn't fit your builds. What's like the thing you're most afraid of not having enough of?
So I don't know if afraid is the right word, but like the team I'm looking to get underweight to the most is the Chicago White Sox, just because I think they're picking up a little bit too much ownership. And then I guess I don't know. I'm a little bit interested in the Frankie Montas, Aaron Nola ownership split on FanDuel. As it stands, I have quite a bit more in Montas. That's the stand that I'm taking, but I'm probably going to be at the field or a little bit under on Nola. And so that's probably the one I'm the most worried about.
Why is that your stand, out of curiosity? The ownership right now, we have 25% on Nola, 20% on Montas, give or take. Why are you leaning? You said you're leaning toward Montas, correct?
Yeah, it's honestly just because I love playing pitchers in the Oakland ballpark. That's really what it comes down to. Like, Texas is a team that has a lot of strikeout upside, but also some power, and it's tough to hit home runs in Oakland. So that's the biggest reason why it's Montas for me. Atlanta, yes, they strike out a lot, and there's no Acuna, but just with small chances of a mid-game delay, Nola going a little bit higher owned, and then the ballpark are the main things that have me gravitating to Montas.
See, the people in chat are asking about umpires. We haven't touched on that. I did see there's a couple extremes. Extreme hitters umpire today for the Minnesota Detroit game. Minnesota KC game. And extreme pitchers umpire for Scooball. There you go. Scooball is getting an extreme pitchers umpire as well as Pilkington. So extreme pitchers umpire.
That's the takeaway, not Scooball, Connor Pilkington.
How do you feel about the Connor with the K? That's a bold decision, isn't it?
I don't like it. I hate it.
I didn't realize I'd get such a strong reaction. Fair enough. Hey, same question for you, Keith. Is there somebody, a stack, a pitcher, one particular player that you're most afraid of just not having enough of? That's just like, for whatever reason, salary cap, it just doesn't fit for you, but you wish you had more, but you don't.
The guy for me today is clearly Ohtani. He's underpriced for his talent level on DraftKings. And he could absolutely go out there and strike out 10 or 12 Blue Jays today just because of how dominant he's been against right-handed pitching. So if he comes in at 45% and I have 35%, it's going to be tough for me to find the right combination around him because I have less in the field. So Ohtani is the one I'm most scared of, just absolutely putting up a number that I don't have enough of.
Yeah, and that's an ownership decision. It's not they don't respect Ohtani. You're just
all right. Make some adjustments. I was right. Edwin Rios is now one of your very top point per dollar salary saving options because this lineup came out late. He might not pick up the same type of ownership, but he's batting fifth. We got Betts, Freeman, Trey Turner, Will Smith, Edwin Rios, Justin Turner, Cody Bellinger, Chris Taylor, Gavin Lux. So who's not in the projected lineup then? Muncy. So no Muncy.
Chalk Muncy. So you don't have to play him again.
No more Muncy. And Edwin Rios is now one of the very top cheap options on the slate.
Yeah, like Muncy 2K on Fanduel. I feel like I keep playing that. And it's like, why do I keep playing this nonsense? He was really good for a while. He had a window, and we're at the quarter pole of the season. It's been kind of rough, I suppose. All right. We have the Crunch Time crew, I believe. Producer Steve, they're coming in any minute now. Is that correct?
Yeah, if we have almost 300 people watching. If this is how math works, that if 100 people hit the like button, Edwin Rios will hit a home run. That's not like me. That's just from Edwin Rios, that like he just really appreciates the like button, and he already lobbied to get in the lineup. He will lobby to get himself a home run if we get 100 likes.
You're saying that's a foolproof? I feel like you're making that up, just like you made up Patrick Corbin's middle name.
Well, if Patrick Corbin's middle name is not William, then this may be incorrect.
Well,
that's all I'll say on that.
Now.
I feel like we're at a loss now. Keith, is there any like goofy? I don't know if I asked you, is there any goofy like off the radar stack that you're looking at that like just? Well, I feel like you mentioned Oakland, and that's probably just like for salary reasons, I imagine.
Yeah, Oakland and Detroit both. I think there's just a couple of pieces I really like towards the top of the order, middle of the order that make things work for me to get the pitching and the primary stack that I want. So I'll play quite a bit of those two.
TJ, I kind of poked the bear earlier. I sort of mentioned it, but it is sort of worth noting that nobody is playing your Blue Jays today. Are you playing like amongst your 150? Are you making like a few Blue Jay stacks? Just, I mean, any given time you can play Vladdy and Springer and Bichette, right?
Yeah, big time. I'm mixing a few of those guys in there. I'm checking right now how many Blue Jay stacks I have in this 150, but they're among the teams like the. Here we go. Now it's up.
But you're also getting 3-5.
Blue Jays, Cleveland, Detroit, Yankees, KC. Those are all the teams that I'm sprinkling into like 5 to 10% of my lineups.
Tell me how you stack Cleveland. I don't know. I don't know what to do with that team, man. And they also lost Franmil. Franmil's on the IL, and he's been rough, but like he always has that power. And J Ram's, I don't know, top 10 hitter in all of baseball, but like, and we've seen Naylor. From I'm gonna goof it up again. What's the outskirts of Toronto? Where's Josh Naylor from?
Mississauga.
Yeah, there you go. But like it's just I don't know, TJ. How do you stack up? Cleveland's just a rough. It's not a fun team.
1, 2, 3, 4, like any other team.
I mean, all right, fair enough. All right.
Like I said, this is 5% of lineups out of 150. This is not a top tier tournament team.
We are going to bring in the cross type crew now. We got cheap. Oh, all right.
Allen is not that far away from William.
It like alphabetically, it's about as far away as you can get. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but in terms of vibes, like in terms of like vibes. When you hear names, when you hear somebody's name, William gives you a similar vibe to Allen.
It's a comp? I don't think so. I'm not buying.
Am I wrong, Roth?
No, I don't think you are, because there's L's in both. It's 2 syllables. William, Allen. I don't think you're crazy.
You have to do with Roth just because he's asked you so nicely. You don't have to just agree just to be pleasant.
I don't think he's wrong. Dean, we got to talk about you. We got to talk about you saying you weren't on the show because you went to Miami, and you're like, this is the true test if the Dean Mush is real. How'd that work out for you?
Well, it's small sample size, but the Miami Heat shot like 6 for 40 from 3, which is a subpar. The Monstars stole their ability to shoot some 3-pointers apparently, but hey, maybe they win Game 6. They probably won't, but maybe they do. We're going back to Miami, and Miami sneaks into the finals as one of the worst teams of all time to get into the finals. But hey, this is they're beat up. They're wounded.
It's tough. I just thought it was so funny that you were like, this will be the true test of the Dean Mush. And they just shot historically bad while you were there.
Live and in person, I put the mush on them. Unfortunately, yeah, it was it was nice going to the game, but the result wasn't what we hoped for. How about that?
Dean, I don't know if you know this, but we better get out of here because Cheese has some big plans after the Crunch Time show.
Yeah. Well, is he going to he's going to go to a packed theater? I don't like Dave.
Where were you the other day? A packed stadium?
What? Well, I mean, but like a movie theater, I want to be able to like just stretch and relax.
Yeah. How many, like, you're acting like I'm going to go see this movie once. I will be seeing it at least 7 times in the theater. Some of those times will be weekday matinees. You don't need to worry about me, Dean.
Do you have your tickets booked and you're ready to go tonight?
Yes.
All right. Get excited. Well,
and keep in mind, like, going to a movie on an opening day in Auburn, Alabama is not the same as like a lot of other places. Like, it's not like, I mean, it'll be crowded. But it's not quite like, wherever most people are going to their movies in the middle of downtown something. I'll be able to get a seat.
Fair enough. We'll step aside and make way for crunch time. Kevin Roth, you got to give us an update as far as weather. I know you wrote it in your article. Well, people want to hear it too. They don't want to read. People don't want to read these days. They want to know what's going on as far as in Atlanta, the other places, a couple other spots I saw where it's yellow. And of course, the FanDuel starts at 6:40. So we better step aside and get out of here and make way. With that said, myself, TJ, Keith, thanks for watching the first half, the appetizer portion of the show. Here comes the main course. It's Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. It's Dave Potts and Kristi. I haven't seen her or heard her, but I presume she's there as well. Hi, Kristi.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you? Go ahead, Roth. Take it over.
Appreciate it as always. Yes, this is the main course, the meat and potatoes. This is Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. If you're watching for free on YouTube, it's because FanDuel, our sponsor, is getting this info out to you. So give us a little like and subscribe for that. Don't forget to check out the FanDuel $125K Thursday MLB Rally Contest. $25K to first, $7.77 to enter. Not bad there. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook, legal sports betting state. New users get a risk-free bet up to $1K. Joined as always on Crunch Time by 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. What up, Cheese?
Just best day ever kind of stuff. How are you?
Man, I'm not as good as you because I don't get to see the movie tonight, but planning on it for next week. So I am stoked about that.
And if it all wasn't enough, Matt Carpenter is back in the league. So, I mean,
it's a glorious day for
know
Cheese.
what to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm excited for you, bud. I did start watching the original Top Gun, and I forgot how incredible it was. It's so good.
It really is.
Also joined by Kristi, who we are a fan of. The question is Kristi a Top Gun fan? I don't know. Kristi?
I am. Not enough where I'm going to see it tonight, but I love Top Gun. So I'm right there with you. Can't wait to see it.
Good. All right. Well, we're all on the right side of this argument. Dean stands alone on the wrong side of this argument. Guys, we got to talk a little bit of weather. But first, I want to take us back exactly 24 hours ago, Cheese. We were in a similar spot. We were talking about Chicago. And right off the top of the show, I said, I don't really know what's going to happen in Chicago. By the end of the show, I had a pretty good idea what was going to happen in Chicago. And by first pitch, I was damn certain of what was going to happen. That's not to say I'm the man, although I'll take that.
Maybe it is, but
it's to show that when you get closer to lock, the closer you get, those minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes become so incredibly important. Because then I'm not relying on models to tell me what's going to happen. I can generally just look at radar and see what's going to happen. So I'm going to give an update off the top of the show. I will likely give another at the end of the show. I'll likely give more updates as we get closer to each first pitch after the show. So just stay tuned for weather. but I do have a pretty good idea of what I think we can expect. And we'll start in Detroit. Cheese, what do we want in Detroit?
Pitcher.
I think we do it. I think you go for it. They will see rain in Detroit, but I just don't see any way that they're going to see heavy enough rain to stop play. So I think they're going to play through some of those light showers. If you want hitters, pitchers, whatever it is, if you want hitchers, go for it. Always. Yeah, anything goes here. That's not to say it is safe. It's never safe when you're talking about these rain games, but I feel good enough about Detroit that I think you should play pitchers even in cash games. Is that a cash game play over there?
Probably. I mean, it could be. You can go either way on that, but
okay,
definitely one of the top 4 great pitchers.
It gets a little trickier as we go to Atlanta, because if you look at radar in Atlanta right now, it's beautiful. Like, you couldn't ask for anything better. There's no rain, no storms anywhere nearby. The issue is forecast models pop up storms, and I can't see them. They're not there. There's Atlanta in the middle of your screen, and there's like nothing around it. But at some point, there's going to be some storms popping up, and I can't tell you exactly where those storms will be. Most models keep them just east of the ballpark, which would mean even if the storms pop up, and there's no guarantee they will, it would still be okay for both pitchers and hitters. I don't have that much faith in the forecast models to say they're going to nail a razor thin margin like this. And until I can see it on radar, I don't know. Kristi, do we want pitchers there? I've had a couple people asking, I think, about pitchers in Atlanta.
Yeah, I do have interest there. So, I mean, I think your weather forecast is, been waiting for that, but I do have interest there for sure.
And it's it's a cash game viable guy on FanDuel.
It is. Nola is pretty cheap.
I think it's a dicey play. I'm not saying it won't work out. And if you are okay with that risk, that's fine. I just can't tell you what's going to happen in Atlanta like I can in Detroit, because it's not there on radar for me to see yet. I think the odds are in your favor that it works out. Maybe 65%, like 2/3 of the time it works out for you. But that's a pretty legitimate chunk, a 1 in 3 chance that a storm pops over the ballpark and you lose your pitcher. Furthermore, there is a chance that storms pop over the ballpark and they never get out of there and it sinks your bats too. I don't think that's likely enough.
That you're getting really exciting.
Yeah. I don't think that's likely enough that you should do anything about that chance. Like, I'm keeping my risk level as yellow, which is chance for a delay. And I think that's the best way to put it. There is a chance that the storms pop, they don't clear, they call the game, but there's always a chance something stupid happens, and we just have to play the odds and hope that that's not the case. Yeah. We want some bats there too, I assume.
Yeah, it's got everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm okay with bats. I'm certainly okay with pitchers in tournaments. If you feel like it's the play in cash and you got to do it, okay, I'll endorse it, but I'm not going to say it's risk-free. St. Louis wouldn't be shocked if they have to late start there, but I think the game should play fine. Chicago wouldn't be shocked if they get a later inning delay, but I think the game should be fine outside of that. So that's where I'm at. We've got that Atlanta lock that comes slightly after lock, correct?
Correct.
I don't think I'm going to see anything on radar there that's going to make a difference. If I do, of course, I'll sound the alarms and let everybody know. So I'll tweet about the Atlanta game and give a lock an update here, as well as those other two, St. Louis and in Chicago, as we get closer to lock.
All right. And let me just note right off the bat, the reason I look moderately distracted, we got the Dodgers lineup right as we came on, and Max Muncy is out, which he was kind of the go-to Dodger, at least on FanDuel, price and position wise. So if you built Dodgers lineups already, like me, you may have to make some swaps. Are
you just 1v1ing, or are you now, okay, now I've lost my favorite bat in that stack and I don't want it anymore?
No, it doesn't change how much you want the stack, but he's eligible at 3 positions on FanDuel and 2 at DraftKings. So you can't just straight swap, because what position are you at? And then on DraftKings, you're saving money with the swaps. You want to spend it somewhere else. FanDuel, you can straight swap it at second or third, but really it's kind of a reworking situation.
Okay. All right. That's my spiel. We've got FanDuel lock coming up relatively quickly, right?
Yes. But there's just the one game off the bat.
I'll let you make the call. Do we want to go through everything with DK and FanDuel, or do you just want to run through FanDuel and then pause, run through on DK?
What I think is we should just do everything and not try to jam it in before lock. It's just the one game that there's really not much in anyway. Like, I don't think you have to feel like you need your FanDuel lineups set. In fact, let's just talk about the first game first, and then we can just do it the sites together.
I love it. Let's do it.
So it's this Tampa Yankees game. Like, if you're doing a bunch of lineups on FanDuel, Nestor Cortez can be in your mix of aces, but he's pretty much just a leftover, even though he's really good. But he's good enough that I mean, playing Tampa bats is just really low down the pole. I wouldn't really get to any. And even on the Yankees side, Gleyber Torres is always cheap. Like, he's fine in the middle infield. And then you got Judge, but Judge isn't even the best, like, spend up outfielder. So really, I feel like you probably need to be 20 lineups in before you're even messing with this game. Maybe a Judge or a Torres, but to me, the game barely exists. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. Kristi, do you have some interest in that first game? Maybe because it'll be lower owned because it's not on the DK slate?
That's the only reason I have a little bit of interest in it, and because it is the Yankees, and because you can get that stack and they're relatively cheap with Andahar and Gallo and a couple of cheaper pieces in there. So I think just to get different, I think it's an interesting stack, but there's a lot of other stacks that we'll get to that I have a lot more interest on FanDuel tonight.
Okay, makes sense. Let's kind of re-rack this from the top. We'll talk pitchers. We'll go through stacks. We'll go position by position. Cheese, you want to lead us off here with a little pitcher talk?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good pitching. I've been able to narrow it down to four guys that I really can't separate them at all. It's Nola, Ohtani, Montas, and Skubal. By all means, you're allowed to have Cortez on FanDuel and Eric Lauer and maybe even Kyle Wright in that group if you want. The way I see it is on FanDuel, you're saving like $1,000 with Nola and Montas. That's the reason Nola, and he's pitching in Atlanta. That's the reason Nola is going to be kind of the cash game go-to. Is the $1,000 you save from Ohtani or from Skubal is really useful.
But you did say there's four guys, and you're telling me you want to pick the one who could get washed out? That seems like pivot to one of the other dudes.
Well, two of the other dudes are $1,000 more,
right? And
that $1,000 is very useful. But I think you're okay with Montas. Montas is $100 less than Nola. If you don't want to rework your lineup to get up to Ohtani or Skubal, I would just play Montas. I just think it's too easy not to. Personally, from what you've said, I'm not changing any tournament exposure. I'm very close to a 4-way split on FanDuel. On DraftKings, the pricing splits up just a little bit, not much, but Ohtani is just enough cheaper, and like every dollar counts. So I do have more Ohtani than anyone else on DraftKings. But really, the vast majority of my lineups on both sites are those four guys at close to an even split: Nola, Ohtani, Montas, Skubal. On DraftKings, there's a lot of things you can't do with two aces. And my two cheaper guys that I'm using are Herman Marquez, or all the way down to nonsensical Connor Pilkington.
I'm sorry, come again?
Yeah. Which, as I mentioned in the article, was what I named one of my teddy bears when I was a child, Connor Pilkington. He's $4,000 and he's facing Detroit. That's it. That's all you need to know. He's not particularly good.
Yeah.
Not even particularly. He's not good at all. Probably. He probably shouldn't be a major league pitcher, but he's 4K facing the Tigers. And that's all I need to know.
Okay. How much, Mr. Pilkington, do you have? Let's say if you had 150 lineups, which you might.
Something like 20%.
Oh, okay.
Because there's just so many lineups that you can't possibly do without him, because there's a ton of like 6K batters. That are really
and
good.
How many points do you want from Mr. Pilkington to be like, that'll work?
Honestly, like 8 is fine. Yeah, it really
amazing.
is.
Like, you think you can win a tournament if he gets 8 points?
So if enough of those 6K bats go nuts, then getting 20s to 25s from the expensive pitchers might not hurt you for having 8 to 10 for 4K.
Interesting. Okay. That's fascinating stuff. Okay. Kristi, what are your favorite pitchers here? Seems like we've got a lot of options up, a few options down. It seems like a fun one for you.
It does. There are a lot of good options. And I agree with Cheese at the top. I have a lot of interest in Skubal, Ohtani, Montas, Nola. I would say that on FanDuel, I'm probably taking a little bit more of an overweight stance on Montas. I mean, there's just $100 difference there, but I just like his matchup a little bit better against Texas. Atlanta can certainly string together some good games. So that matchup scares me a little bit more for Nola, although he's a fantastic play based on his price. And like we mentioned, he is really in the cash conversation too. So I would say on FanDuel, Nola and Montas are two of my higher owned guys for cash and tournaments. But then because of Ohtani and Skubal's price, they're right there too. So those are my top 4 pitchers as well. Like Cheese had mentioned, when you get to DraftKings, Pilkington makes a lot of things work just simply based on his 5.5K price. Is he on? No, I think I'm looking on FanDuel, but he's just a good price there. So for me, I'm looking him on DraftKings. Let's see. I would also throw into the tournament mix. I would throw Kyle Wright in there. He's had some really good matchups to start the season, and then he has had a couple of bad ones in there too. But I think the matchup is fine tonight, back to that Atlanta Philly game. So interest there. And then I think, in tournament lineups, I think if you're looking, he's priced up there. We talked a little bit about Nestor Cortez. If you're building, if you're mass multi-entering, certainly throw him in the mix, and then Eric Lauer too. But for me, I'm a lot of concentration on the top 4 with Nola, Montas, Ohtani, and Skubal. Okay, great. Got a question from Straw. Any love for Marty Perez? That Oakland, Texas game is going to be 2-1. Kristi? Not for me. It's just, I'm surprised that Perez has really been playing as well, and I probably need to give him a little more credit, but I've seen him pitch so many times back when he pitched with the Twins, and I'm just not a huge believer. So because he's priced up, I'm out on Perez tonight.
Okay. Cheese, you're playing some guy named Teddy Bear Pilkington. Are you interested in Marty Perez at all?
No, because of the price. I fully agree. The game should be 2-1. It's not that I don't think he's going to pitch well. It's that a no strikeout pitcher at that salary on this slate just doesn't fit for me.
Okay. Great answers. Let's talk about some of the stacks here. And Kristi, if you don't mind leading us off, what is the chalk, or at least, what are the popular good ones? And then what are some of the sneakier ones that you like?
Yeah, so I think that the chalkier stacks are going to be the Dodgers. I mean, they have the highest implied run total. They're certainly going to be popular. And I think there's a lot of ways to break it down. You can play the back of the lineup, the top of the lineup. They're just all so talented. And now that we got the lineup cracked and that Rios is in there, he's going to be a really good value in that Dodgers lineup. So like them a ton. I think the Twins are going to be one of the more popular stacks tonight too. Buxton, projects extremely well, but then, Correa is in the mix there. And then Ursula, Garlic, and Miranda all are fairly inexpensive. So Twins, I think, are a great stack. Boston projects extremely well, and it'd be hard to get Dodgers and Boston in there if you're paying up for the top pitchers. So I'm hoping that stack goes a little bit lower owned. So certainly like Boston. White Sox seem to project pretty good. I think they'll be a little bit chalkier too. And then maybe a couple under-owned stacks that I really like tonight. Colorado, I know they're away from Coors, but CJ Cron and some of those righties match up very, very well tonight. So I like Cron. Then you've got like Daza. He's really, really cheap, especially on FanDuel. I know they're priced up on DK, but I think they make very interesting plays. And then I will also throw in Arizona. They're priced up a little bit, but if you're looking to game stack, I certainly like the Dodgers and Arizona.
Okay, excellent. Cheese, you want to go through some of your favorites?
Yeah, so the Dodgers are obviously the top team, and it's not even remotely close, except first of all, who do you play? How do you even pick out just 4 or 5 of them? On DraftKings, they're wildly expensive. I don't think they're actually the chalk on DraftKings because of the pricing. Now on FanDuel, 3 of them are expensive, and then the rest are really affordable. So I do think they're chalky on FanDuel. But DraftKings, I'm not actually that worried about ownership on them. And in FanDuel, I love that you can play really any of the 9 batters in any combination. So even if they're chalk, it's not concentrated chalk. So to me, it's the best team, and I like it a lot. I think the Twins are the team that gets too much ownership based on, one, having Buxton up there, and then on DraftKings, so many super cheap bats. Like Miranda's going to be really popular, and Urshela. It's too easy to stack. Basically, Buxton and Correa are expensive, and then Garlic, Urshela, Miranda, just super chalky, cheap guys. I like Colorado better. They're also kind of expensive and not super easy to get. I think I'm fine mini stacking them too, just like playing Crone and Grichuk or Rogers. But I do like Colorado a lot. Both the White Sox and the Red Sox, all the different colored socks, are great. And I'm not really that concerned about ownership there. Like, I think it's pretty well spread out.
Okay, I think you did a great job breaking that down, but I'm going to put a little bit more pressure on you. Alex says, can you rank the 4 of those stacks, factoring in ownership being Dodgers? This is on FanDuel, where you said the Dodgers are a little cheaper, but spread out maybe. Dodgers, White Sox, Rockies, and Twins.
It is different on FanDuel. I'm still going to say the Dodgers are the best, even though they're the chalkiest. And then I would go Rockies second, White Sox, and then Twins.
Okay, excellent. We did stacks. Okay, we got a lot of good questions coming in, and we will get to those, but let's go position by position first. Cheese, let's talk about the catcher position, and if we're talking FanDuel, of course, the FanDuel catcher and first position.
Okay, and just glancing at lineups just coming out again, I was hoping Taylor Ward would be back tonight for the Angels. He is not. So if you had an Angel stack with Taylor Ward, you now have a bunch of salary. So goof around with that. Okie dokie. Catcher on FanDuel, Will Smith is very playable at catcher first base. Otherwise, it's going to be first baseman. So let me skip to DraftKings with catcher where you do need one. Yeah, Will Smith is great, but 5,700, like you run out of places to spend really quick. The problem is the other good catchers are pretty expensive. Like I like Keibert Ruiz and Gary Sanchez, but they're over 4K. Grandal is 4K. Real Muto's 3.9. Even Melendez is up to 3.8. Like I kind of like all those guys. But I wish we had more pure punts, which we don't. I think you can play. We're going to run into a lot of Oakland bats as possible cheap punts on DraftKings where they don't have to do much to pay it off. So like Bethancourt and Murphy are fine. But I think you actually kind of need to spend a little money at catcher in most of your lineups just because they're all kind of priced up and they're all at least decent. But I would not prioritize Will Smith at that salary. Okay,
Kristi?
Yeah, so for catcher too, I agree. I like Will Smith a lot on FanDuel, but if you're looking over on DK, I like Grandal's price at just 4K in that White Sox stack. Think he makes quite a bit of sense. Gary Sanchez, like him a little bit more on FanDuel. He's been hitting well in those twin stacks at just 3,100. If you're looking to save a little bit of money on DK, I think Elias Diaz in that Colorado game is interesting at 3.6K. We mentioned Colorado and liking them. So I think that's someone that you can go to save some money too. And then I'd maybe throw Christian Vazquez in the Boston game going up against Keuchel. He's really cheap too on DraftKings. So again, looking to save money. Those are a couple of guys that I like there too.
All right, Kristi, take us to first.
Yeah. So on first base tonight, I think, Freddie Freeman, especially on FanDuel, will be extremely popular. Jose Miranda is just the minimum price over on DraftKings. So I think he's going to carry a ton of ownership. He's just a great player in that Twins lineup, and batting 7 tonight makes a ton of sense. Also like Jose Abreu and Andrew Vaughn in that White Sox game. Think they're both fine plays too. You can play Edwin Rios there. And he's going to be extremely popular now just because he is in the Dodgers lineup with no Muncy today. So I like him as well. Trying to see on FanDuel. Yeah, for FanDuel, I guess it's really the same. And CJ Crone, I would throw in there on FanDuel as probably one of the better tournament plays as well.
Okay. Cheese, first base.
Yeah, pretty much the same names. Freeman certainly is the top play if you have money sitting around. I like CJ Crone probably better than Freeman as a one-off in tournaments. I also like Josh Bell in that game. Miranda, like what weird chalk we have these days. Like Jose Miranda will probably be the highest owned player on the slate.
Yeah.
But he's so cheap, and this is on DraftKings, and you just have to have a couple cheap bats to make other things work. So I'm fine with it. I would throw in some like Bobby Dahlbeck, something different and cheap. I don't know. Carlos Santana is like the same price as Miranda. Carlos Santana is as good a hitter as Jose Miranda. So I don't feel like you just have to play Miranda chalk everywhere. But I would love to spend up at first. CJ Crone, especially.
Okay. Second base, Cheese.
So the Dodgers, without Muncy, like things change a lot. We still have like 3 second base Dodgers on FanDuel: Trey Turner, Lux, and Taylor. I also on FanDuel, we get both Kiki Hernandez and Baez at second as well. I really like Hernandez tonight. He's kind of a guy I'll play not just in stacks. I'll play him on his own at a good price on both sites. Javi Baez is like the poor man's Byron Buxton, like super talented guy who is going to slump a lot and swings at too many things. But he shouldn't really ever be $2,500 against a teddy bear named Pilkington. Like I do think you're supposed to be playing Baez. And then if you have money, Trevor Story is probably the top other than Trey Turner play on this slate. And where you don't have Turner on DraftKings, I think Story is the guy you want.
Okay. Kristi, second.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely love Trevor Story tonight. I think he's a fantastic play. A lot of interest in those Boston stacks. I also agree, like, you've got a couple of those cheap plays in, let me see here. Kiki Hernandez, especially on FanDuel. He just makes a ton of sense and priced really, really appropriately. So a lot of interest there. Javier Baez, we mentioned him. His price has really come down as well. I'd also throw in Brendan Rodgers in there in that Colorado game. If you're looking to stack Colorado, certainly don't forget about him. I think he's an interesting play. And then let's see, last but not least, I'd throw Kettle Marte in there too. I talked a little bit about the Arizona stacks. And I think I like the top of that order 1 through 5 tonight quite a bit. So yeah, a lot of Trevor Story for me tonight for sure, paying up there.
Also, in just glancing at things, I just noticed Louis Rengifo is batting leadoff. So that's another potential punt option if you need it.
Okay. Kristi, you want to take us to third?
Yeah. So at third base, there's a lot of different options to go here too. So you've got Jose Miranda. Again, we talked about him being chalk. Rafael Devers, his price is way up there now, but he's a fantastic play. It's lefty going up against Keiko. So I think, ownership could be down a little bit on him, but certainly like him. Gio Urshela in that Twins game on DK, he's just 3,200. So really like that price. I'd also throw Jose Ramirez in there too, just because he's Jose Ramirez and, just always has the power to hit a home run. Rios, you can play him on FanDuel, so you can fit him in there if you'd like, especially with no Muncy out. Let's see here. Yeah, for me, those are really Justin Turner. I would also throw in there too. I like his price on FanDuel, so I think he's someone that might get a little bit more overlooked in some of the Dodger stacks tonight.
Cheese, third.
Oh, I got third on there. So yeah, I had some third basemen in there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's weird when like the top couple guys, Ramirez and Devers, are in tougher-ish matchups. I like the Devers call because I think even in Boston stacks, he'll be left out. So I think you do need to get him in there if you're doing some Boston stacks. And as much as I love Scooball, and I do, Jose Ramirez is just elite against anyone. Urshela on DraftKings will be chalky. I think you can go down even further than that and play Rivera for the White Sox. Miranda is also third base eligible. But just like with Carlos Santana at first, I kind of like the Royals punts as much as the Twins punts in that game. And then otherwise, the other thing, and I didn't mention it first, the Cardinals right-handed bats, Goldschmidt and Arenado, even with Lauer being a good pitcher now, he's still going to allow right-handed power. I really do like those two guys.
Okay, shortstop, Cheese.
So shortstop is tough because it's really expensive on DraftKings. On FanDuel, you can afford Trey Turner. Carlos Correa is priced down. We've got the Javi Baez thing again. It's pretty easy to play a good shortstop. I think you need a good shortstop on FanDuel. On DraftKings, Correa, Anderson, Turner, Bogarts, and even Tommy Edman are all over 5K, with Turner over 6K. And I don't love spending that much at shortstop, except the cheap options are also not as good as other places. Like Baez at 39 is fine, but I'd rather him be cheaper. Like you can do Corey Seager as well, even against good pitcher. My favorite punt is Christian Arroyo. He's batting ninth. But he actually he hits fly balls. He lines up kind of okay against Keuchel. And at 2,700, I think he's my favorite cheap guy. Otherwise, just something random in a stack.
Okay. Kristi, you can go to short, or I may have cut you off before third. I was looking at radar, so sometimes I kind of zone out. But whatever you want to talk about, the stage is yours.
Yeah. So for shortstop, for me, Tim Anderson, I like quite a bit. Talked about the White Sox, Carlos Correa in the Twins game there, Trey Turner. I love the Christian Arroyo call. I just think he makes a ton of sense, and he's almost min price on FanDuel and just 2,700 on DK. Xander Bogaerts, another guy that I'm quite interested in. Javier Baez, we kind of talked about him a little bit, but Trevor Story, Tim Anderson, Carlos Correa, Trey Turner, probably the top guys, probably looking to be a spend up position for me here tonight. Okay.
Take us to the outfield, Kristi.
Yeah. So for outfield, there's a lot of great plays that I really like tonight. Buxton is going to carry a ton of ownership. I know he hasn't been playing quite as well lately, but he certainly has 2 home run upside each and every night that he's in there. Juan Soto is reasonably priced and probably more of a cash game play for me. He just doesn't have quite the surrounding cast around him that some of the other guys do that I like, but he's certainly a very good play. Kiki Hernandez, love him a lot tonight. I mean, he's a great price at just 3,500 on DK, 2,700 on FanDuel. Like him. At the top, Mookie Betts, he's hard to get in your lineups. I mean, he's 6,200 on DK, but I'm going out of my way to get him in my lineups tonight on FanDuel. Just because we saw the other night, he wasn't going to play, then he hits 2 home runs. So I definitely want to get him in there. Kyle Garlick, the only thing I don't like about him, maybe a little bit of a pinch hit risk, but he's very good price in that Twins lineup. And then, we talked a little bit about some of those Colorado guys. So, you've got Connor Joe and Grichuk. I certainly like a couple of those guys in there in those Colorado stacks for tonight. And then JD Martinez, he's at the top end too. So certainly like him. I will say, like on FanDuel, Cody Bellinger batting 7th, I believe tonight. I really like him a lot, and just a great price point there. So he's probably one of my favorite tournament plays. And then on FanDuel, you can also play Dalton Varsho out in the outfield, and so certainly like him as well. One more, I'll throw AJ Pollock in there too in that White Sox game.
Okay, great. Cheese.
Yeah, so up top, I would put Trout at the top of the list, followed by Soto, followed by Harper, Buxton, Betts, and Judge on FanDuel. Like as always, like all those guys are just great and do whatever you want to do and mix and match and whatever. But I think if I just had to pick one of the really expensive guys, I'm going with Trout. I don't think he's probably going to strike out 4 times 2 nights in a row. That would be amazing if he did.
Unlikely.
I don't like going too cheap on FanDuel because like we usually see the mid-tier is just not expensive. Bellinger in particular, but like Connor Joe, AJ Pollock type guys on FanDuel. Kiki Hernandez is definitely too cheap on DraftKings, along with AJ Pollock in that mid 3K range. I don't like garlic on like, especially like on pasta, but also as a one-off, just because of the pinch hit risk. And like a chalky guy who gets 2 at bats does not thrill me. The guy that all of a sudden interests me is someone I'd never heard of like 30 minutes ago for the Royals. Brewer. His first name is Brewer. I have to look at his name again. Starts with an H. Brewer Hickley.
Oh,
Hicklin.
yeah.
Brewer
Yeah,
Hicklin.
of course. Sure.
Yeah. I had to look him up. And so I'm just making this up just from not knowing him. He's an older, I will say, non-prospect who strikes out a lot and hits a bunch of home runs and steals a bunch of bases. Like it looks like a probably not great real life player who's probably a fantasy goodness. I like him. I would play that over garlic.
Yeah. Okay.
We also got Chad Pinder down there, Odubel Herrera. There's plenty of dirt cheap stuff if you need it.
Okay. Just so you know, the people are not happy with you for being anti-garlic, and I'm talking about the food. The flavor of garlic is fantastic, though. I do understand sometimes when you like bite a whole like
right, that's the
clove,
problem.
like,
yeah, if it's done right, yeah, absolutely. But sometimes, yeah, if it's too much in one spot, it just like not, then you can't eat for like a day.
Yes, you don't want to be chewing on garlic. I just want the flavor, the hint, the essence of the garlic. Okay, glad you've redeemed yourself there. As long as you're not fully anti-garlic. Let's see.
No, I'm really not.
Okay, favorite question of the day, of almost every day these days, is if you're playing one stack and you're trying to win it all, what is your stack? We'll assume single entry. You're not trying to win some ridiculous tournament. Cheese, you can go first.
I mean, the very obvious answer is the Dodgers, and that is my answer. But just to give you another one, it would be the Rockies next.
Okay. Kristi, one stack to win it all. What say you?
Yeah, definitely the Dodgers for me tonight. But then I agree on the Colorado one, but to do something else a little bit different, I'm also going to throw Arizona in there too, because I like them too as a sneakier stack.
Okay, excellent. That was like 5 stacks to win it all between the two of you, but that's okay.
Definitely the Dodgers.
Between our 7 stacks, our 7 stacks, one of them will be the one you're supposed to play. You're welcome.
Okay, excellent. Let's see. We've got roughly 10 minutes left here, and we can fire away on some QQs. Kristi, Cheese, you have anything you want to add here? Preferably not bad food takes, Cheese.
I don't have any bad food takes, but we're about an hour from popcorn and Top Gun.
Oh, it's so good. I'm so excited for you, man. It's just going to be phenomenal. All right, let's go to greatness. Kristi, I'm starting with you. FanDuel GPP. This is a pitcher hitter combo here. I'm stacking Rockies with Twins. Do you like Ohtani and Daza or Nola Joe?
Ooh. Nola Joe. I think I would go Nola Joe. I like Joe quite a bit tonight.
Great. Sit down, son. Says, say Cheese, am I crazy for liking a St. Louis stack? Lauer's still giving up those hard hit fastballs to righties.
Yeah, that's why I almost forgot to mention it when I brought up at third. I love Goldie and Arenado, and I don't think it's crazy to add to it to make it a stack.
Okay. I did see a question earlier, and I don't know if you brought him up, but Aside says, what are your thoughts on Andujar in FanDuel Cash? He's 2K. He's batting cleanup. You get a 1-3 Dodger stack. He says
he's the one guy who's already lost. He was in that one early game. Yeah.
Well, that explains why I had to scroll up to get it. Okay. We scroll back down, my friends. Okay, here we go. Cheese, FanDuel GPP, Grichuk and Joe for a full Colorado stack, or Buxton and Baez one-offs?
Grichuk Joe.
Quick weather update here. Just looking at radar. Detroit still looks really, really good, and I don't expect that's going to change. Atlanta still looks really, really good, and that's the game where we could see pop-up storms. I don't know if they're going to go over the ballpark or not. I would hedge that they will not. I'd say your chance of a delay is maybe 1 in 3 in that game. But I just, until there's storms on my radar, I can't tell you. John Tom FanDuel GPP just did that one. Scrolling down. J Sam's Kristi. Let's see. On FanDuel Big Field as a last piece one-off with only 2,500 left, would you prefer Pinder over Lowry?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Pinder.
Okay, great.
They're both good though.
Okay. CLT says Cheese may be one of the greatest baseball minds in the universe, and he has the palate of a 7-year-old.
That's not unfair.
You do love your ice cream. It's starting to add up here. Let's see. If we don't want the Miranda chalk cheap at third on DK, which you mentioned, like you don't have to read somebody their rights today. Do you prefer Sheldon Neuse or Kevin Smith? I nailed that pronunciation.
Yeah, like Neuse. Yeah, and just to be clear, I am playing a good amount of Miranda chalk.
Yeah,
it's just like I had to go out of my way not to play him in like every lineup.
Yeah, you don't want 100% Miranda chalk,
right?
So the question was
noisy. I like noise.
Okay. Noisy. Dan Jan, massive large field GPP, Kristi, massive on DK. The biggest field you can fathom here. You want a Brave stack with Perez and Montas.
Brave stack with Perez.
Does it have the upside? Does it have the uniqueness?
And did you say Perez or Montas?
Perez and Montas on DK with a Brave stack.
Yeah, I don't think the Brave stack is crazy. I really don't. There's a lot of power in that lineup. So no, I like it.
Great. Okay. Sherman's Tanks, FanDuel Cash, Cheese, Trout, Baez. I feel like that's pretty good. Or Will Smith Correa. That's pretty good too.
Yeah, they're both pretty good.
Yeah.
I would Trout Baez.
Yeah, I felt that was coming. DK single entry, Kristi. You want? Oh yeah, I do. Ohtani Pilkington. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Ohtani Pilkington or Montas Skubal in a DK single entry.
Oh boy.
There's like a $6,000 price difference.
There is. I was going to say, depending on the stacks that you're getting. I mean, if you're able to get like the Dodgers or something like that, I'd go the first one if you're getting some bigger stacks in there. But yeah, you could make an argument either way.
Okay. I mean, the first, you get to play my favorite player in the world and a teddy bear named Pilkington. I just feel like you got to go with that.
Don't play Pilkington and leave $4,000 on the table. Like, I really don't understand that question, honestly.
Right.
Okay. All right. NBA DFS is FanDuel Cash, Cheese, Rendifo and Correa or Baez and Abreu.
Read that again.
It was FanDuel Cash, Cheese, Rendifo, Correa or Baez, Abreu.
Baez, Abreu.
DY, DK, GPP, Kristi, what are your thoughts on Cole Calhoun against Montas?
If he's like a last piece or part of your stack, yeah, I think it's fine.
Okay. Raymond, FanDuel, GPP, Cheese, Story or Trey Turner to complete stacks. Now, I don't know if that means maybe Trey Turner is completing a stack versus Story.
Yeah, if they're both completing the stack, I would go Story. But if you're saying you have like 3 or 4 Dodgers and you're choosing one, I would play Trey Turner.
Great. Sit Down Son says, ice cream is easily the most enjoyable food, Froyo included. Froyo not included, but ever since baseball started, I've been eating a lot of ice cream because Cheese and I, we discuss ice cream probably twice a week. And boy, you're not wrong, Cheese. You're not wrong about your
truly tremendous.
Your nightly pint is not a poor choice in life. Aside FanDuel Cash, Kristi 2v2, Trout Rios or Cody B and Buxton.
Oh boy, those are both good. For cash, I'd go Trout Rios.
Okay. Sit down, son. Geez, DKGPP 3v3, Riley Bogarts Cruz or Wander Franco, D Swanson, and Betts in a Washington stack.
So that's Michael Franco on
Oh,
DK.
I just, you know what? Like an a-hole. I just assumed the wrong Franco. That's embarrassing.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Why would I do that?
I like Franco Swanson bets.
Okay. Bazinga, DK single entry. Kristi, this is another 3v3. I will not just assume one of these guys' names this time. Dahlbeck, Miranda Betts, or Rios, Devers, and Henlick?
Who would that last one be?
Is it Garlic?
He might be talking about the cheap Royals guy.
Oh,
Hicklin is his name, but he could also mean Garlic.
He says it's a Boston 5-man. If that,
Yeah, I'm not sure what Henlick is.
yeah.
Don't look at me. All right.
Can you do that to me one more time? That it was.
Well, since we don't know who Henlick is, we'll just let him try to re-answer. I'm just going to throw you another question here. Kristi, how much Mr. Fluffy Pilkington do you have tonight in your single entry and 3 entry max on DK? So do you have any teddy bear?
I'm mostly playing on Fanduel tonight. So, but I do have one lineup with him in there. So yeah, I think he's fine.
Okay.
Allows me to get the bigger bats.
Okay, great. Here's a redo of that earlier question you didn't quite understand from Jay. DK single entry, Ohtani Pilkington with a Dodger stack, which is what you said, or Montas Skubal with an Angel stack.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense then. Montas School Angels.
Okay. Steve O, DKGPP. I'm dumpster diving. Rivera or Kevin Smith, Kristi?
Kevin Smith. I'd probably go Kevin Smith in Oakland.
Great. DKGPP. Cheese, would you play Wright Nola?
I'm not playing any right. I don't. It's not crazy at all. Personally, I am not playing right.
Okay. Can I ask why not?
Because there's 5 pitchers better than him in that pricing tier. So that's just going too deep for me. Yeah, to me, he's the worst of the 6 good pitchers, but he's a good pitcher.
Right, but it's not crazy. Okay, excellent. Dan Jan, DKGPP, large field, last piece, Kristi. Cruz, Kike, or Pollock?
I really like Kiki tonight, so I go Kiki.
Great. Pharaoh, FanDuel Cash, Cheese, Nola, with parentheses, don't forget about that weather risk. He said it, not me, versus Montas.
Yeah, I think you may as well play Montas and just not even bother with the risk. They're close enough.
Yeah, NBA DFS, FanDuel Cash, Abreu, Soto, or Daza Trout?
I would go Daza Trout.
Okay. With that, we've actually caught up on all the questions over in the hey, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like and subscribe. This is free content. 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz right here. Kristi's been to 92 live finals. Cheese has won $1 million multiple times, and they're just giving you free content. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous what they're doing. Dan Jan says, hey, Kevin, is Atlanta in jeopardy? I wouldn't say that. The radar in Atlanta looks amazing. It's 10 out of 10 right now. Models show that there will be some storms popping in the general area of Atlanta halfway through the game. I don't know if that's going to end up on the ballpark or not. And I won't know until they pop up. And that's just how it goes in the summertime. As we get hotter, we're going to see more and more of those days. I would not say it's in jeopardy. I've got it as yellow for a chance of a delay. And could it go worse than that? Sure. But I don't think it will. Crazy Coop, DK, Cheese. Can we go cheap SPs with how bunch projections are on the bat and then release the hounds? Is there 2 cheap SPs we can do? Or is that crazy?
I have one lineup with Marquez and Fluffy Pilkington. I think it's okay. I don't love it, but it's okay.
We're just fully embracing Fluffy Pilkington.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Pretty good. Let's see. Kristi, FanDuel big field here. I like when they specify. Gary Sanchez as a one-off or Rendon. P.S. I've got Trout in this lineup.
Ooh, that's tough. If you have Trout, I probably would pair Rendon in there to get a couple of those Angels guys. But Sanchez, I like him a lot tonight too. But yeah, probably go with Rendon.
All right. With that, I believe we've hit the lock. We'll take a few more QQs. We got to get out of here quick though, because as it turns out, one of us has awesome plans for tonight. 2 of us are just going to be jealous of.
We're going to be jealous
of Cheese. We'll take a few QQs that we'll get out of here if that's okay with you, Cheese.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I really like Perez tonight, Cheese, versus the A's. Am I crazy on DK?
I mean, I won't say crazy. Like you should expect him to pitch well. I just personally, I can't play the one guy with the 20% strikeout rate at the same price as 6 guys who are 30% strikeout rate. It's just that simple. But no, you're not crazy.
All right. Kristi, what are your thoughts on a D-back stack? I feel like you mentioned them.
Yeah,
Someone
I did.
Yeah.
See, I do like them. And I may be alone in that, but I have a couple lineups that I've built, and I actually like kind of even getting the Dodgers and the D-backs in there. So I think they're fine play.
Okay. We're going to take one more question and then I'm going to get out of here because Cheese has a movie to see and I hear a baby whining and she wants dad. So I'm going to call it early. Takeover Target says, let me get a home run call from each of you and then we'll bounce. So Kristi, you can start. It can't be the chalkiest dude, but it can be like kind of chalky.
Okay. I'm going to go with CJ Crone tonight.
Let me go first then.
Nice.
We were both, but that's pretty
Yes.
interesting that we were both going to say CJ Crone. I'll give you
it
another
is.
one.
I've liked his profile all day today, and I thought, well, that's crazy.
That really is what I was going to say too.
That's the second time in a row we've done this. I think last time, Cheese, you gave a home run call, and I think TJ was on the show, and he was going to use the person you used.
Yeah,
and we're not picking the chalkiest guys.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's pretty fascinating.
I'll go other non-chalky but good with Nolan Arenado.
Okay,
that's a great call. I like that.
Excellent. All right. With that, we are going to get on out of here. Again, if you're watching this on the YouTube, hit that like button. Free content. A couple of the sharpest minds in the biz and the silly old weatherman here. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. For Kristi, for Cheese, and for our wonderful production crew, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched. Have a good time, Cheese.